Well, I think it's that time again. It's 9 o'clock, and I am so happy to be back live on Lego Speedruns for Ladder League Season 2. Starting off here, it's gonna be a fun match, but just kind of broader perspective here. I think I'm really excited for the lineup we have for the whole summer, right? Of course, we got Ladder League. We're gonna get like some Lego-thon going on later on. But it should be super fun. I'm happy to be hosting as always. Here with me, we got the commentators for this first event. We got Jared, we got P53, and we got Zach. And they're going to be commentating the play-ins, the first play-ins, which is Gamer Olive, Chroma Q, APPLEMAN, and BENNYMOON. So these are the bottom 4 seeds. The winner of this gets access to the next play-in, which will then determine who plays in the final rung of week 1. Yes, I don't know if y'all have anything to say about this. Any excitement? Any good vibes? Any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I guess in a second here we can get into the video, but this is going to be a fun one, and yeah, make sure you guys stay tuned for the video. It's going to be an intro video. You'll probably be seeing it very often, but yeah, should be hype.
Yeah, Zach got Celtics Knicks open in the corner. Absolutely. Almost as exciting though as this 4-way race between some of Lego speedrunning's finest.
I just realized I've been muted this entire time. My apologies.
That's unfortunate.
But yeah, Hav, I mean, this is about as high stakes of a match as you can get for the very first outing of the summer. It is a play-in match, and so we will have a rare 4-way race between our competitors, and it is a triple elimination match, meaning that only the winner will advance into the second play-in match, which will take place later this weekend between Yehudel's Nolan, and as we mentioned, the winner of this match. So very, very high stakes right off the get-go, and I'm excited to get this going. So I think with that being said, I think we can cue the intro.
Yeah, I think, let me just double check, make sure all the runners are ready. Because we're 3 minutes behind schedule here, so we're going to get started basically immediately, and I will be leaving you all to commentate once that's done. I'm going to quickly see how they're doing. In the meantime, if there's any more thoughts.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Bricko for making all of the graphic design layouts for this event. Hugely appreciated as always. Huge shout out to P53 and Hav for the amazing technology that they put together here, and Core for being the the babysitter of everyone pretty much the entire time. The technical supervisor, maybe a nicer way to say it. Yeah, so really thank you guys to everyone who's been really helping out and throwing stuff together. Hope you guys like the transition that I made. You'll see it in a second here. And
you might have seen it already.
Yeah, you've probably seen it like 5 times. Hobbs,
yeah, don't worry about
with
it.
That button. And right. Yeah, guys, make sure you get your predictions in if you haven't already. Do it now. Exclamation point predictions in the chat if you want to see these standings, but I think they're not going to be filled out until after the match, so nothing to see yet.
Yep, and it seems like all the runners are ready, so let's get to it.
Yeah, he treating like a baby. All the shawty's taking all his cash. Please don't stare, he might we'll get him more, he come on my respect. Way too many niggas in the cut. I love love. Always wish we get the first book. I don't care, I'll just pretend. I guess I'm better than these other chumps.
Alrighty, the runners are on the title screen, which means it's time to get started. Can we have one of the three commentators here go into the VC to count down our runners, and we can get this ladder league started?
Yeah, I think we're still waiting on BENNYMOON just for something quick here. But I guess in the meantime, I just want to ask you guys, who are your favorites for this match?
Well, the competition is incredibly tight. The seating is very misleading. I will definitely say that 3 out of the 4 runners in this race have
Small delay.
PB'd.
Just hold on a second. I don't know, some issue going on with BENNYMOON's game capture. This is a classic. You know, if you guys have been to a TCS event before, you can't expect anything else. All right, so what can we say?
Especially the first week.
Yeah.
Hey, this one's not our fault, at least.
Last summer, yeah, the first week of the ladder league was very, very chaotic, to say the least.
While we're waiting, who's starting the countdown on the run.gg? I guess we never established this.
I mean, shouldn't it have already... Oh, it's Hobster. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Hov is doing everything else. Yeah.
So when Hov starts the countdown, I'm gonna give them a countdown, but I don't think we're quite ready yet. Once BENNYMOON's stream is working, I'm gonna go over and see what's going on.
Okay. But
I mean, in the meantime,
Talk-
here, what were you saying about the seating, I guess?
yeah, talking earlier about it. So right now, Gamer Olive still has the fastest PB out of everyone. He's also the highest seed. He has a current PB of 2:42.50, which is a pretty big improvement from his spot on his seeding time. He jumped from 61st place to 48th place. So I think if you just go off that, he's probably the favorite. But BENNYMOON and APPLEMAN have also lowered their PB since the seeding. BENNYMOON qualified almost at the very, very last second. Only qualified by 4 seconds to get into this tournament in the first place. And it looks like we got his stream up, which means that we should be starting right about now.
Yeah, I do see they're all there on the title screen there. Just waiting there for the final countdown there, but we should be getting started pretty soon. I guess you said who you think is most likely to win, but I actually, Zach, since you're back, I guess I want to ask you that. Who do you favor in this 4-way race?
Well, you know, I'll give you a little bit of insight into my own personal predictions form. I did predict Gamer Olive to win this race, and I did, in fact, predict Gamer Olive to win the next plan. So, you know,
We got New Games Press. We're underway.
In that, yeah, here we go. But yes, definitely, my money's on Gamer Olive. We saw APPLEMAN get a new PB today, so that's promising. And all of these runners, I believe it's their 3 of the runners. It's their first race in a tournament here, and we'll see what they can do.
And we got a little bit of a country battle here. We mentioned in the intro video there are currently 9 countries being represented in this tournament, which is pretty awesome to see. It's up from the 6 that we had represented last year. And we have an Australia versus USA battle here in the play-in match for number 1. Gamer Olive from Australia, as well as APPLEMAN. Gamer Olive from Adelaide, Australia. And then APPLEMAN from Hobart. And they'll be facing off against Chroma from New York and Benny from just outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're in negotiations, everyone, for Season 2 of the Ladder League. Again, this is It's Jared 97, along with my good pals, Zach and P53, here in the booth for you. So excited to bring you this first match of the Ladder League, as we are here in 1-1. A little bit of problem switching for APPLEMAN. Very interested to see his play style. He's very known for his experience within the community, but his experience comes from another place compared to the other runners. He's actually a very well-esteemed mobile runner, Zach.
And you could tell that we were here in negotiations by the excitement in Jared's voice, just alone. That's how you knew. But yeah, an established mobile runner is APPLEMAN, and that's what's so exciting about this. You get to see people that you normally wouldn't see in a tournament setting, because in the Ladder League, you have so many opportunities. You know, if you can improve throughout the bracket, then you can actually make a really deep run. And even if you can potentially not make top 8, obviously these runners aren't expecting to make top 8, but every placement matters. And we saw a couple runners like, I guess I can't think of any specifics, but we saw a couple runners last year make really, really deep runs. Like Revelo, I think, is a great example that started out maybe with slower times and were able to improve them throughout, and then slowly inch back towards maybe making a deep run. Jared.
Chroma, the first to finish negotiations with a 216. BENNYMOON not too far behind with a 217, and unfortunately for Gamer Olive, a very unfortunate negotiations there. Looked like he had a little bit of trouble on the buttons, and so he finishes with a 237. Appleman in the middle with a 225. So Chroma jumps out to an early lead. All of our runners will be saving once again after 1-1, similar to all past tournaments.
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out, currently, one thing to point out is that this race, just like the normal any percent leaderboards, will be timed by the load remove time and not RTA timing. So right now there haven't been that many loads, so the visuals will line up. But it's important to note that later on in the race, since all these runners I assume have very different load times potentially, we will give, like, it may look like one runner's ahead when they might not be. So we as the commentators will be updating you specifically about the pace as it goes on there.
So it looks like we had an ICS miss here from Appleman. We have all the rest of the runners getting out of bounds from the tree. But yeah, we're going to have a rare invasion mid-show cutscene here from Appleman. So an unfortunate deficit that the Australian is going to have to face here early in this one.
And if I remember correctly, that happened last year to Appleman as well. So that's just an interesting parallel. I mean, Appleman with a big PB today. Maybe some would say long overdue, as BENNYMOON here is struggling with that end of room 2 here. But just because you PB'd by a lot doesn't mean, Appleman has necessarily been grinding every day. So we don't actually necessarily know how much Appleman has improved for sure. But, with a runner that's like so top level on a different platform, it's really, really standard to expect a good performance from them in a race when, they have so much experience in the game.
Yeah, and Appleman's sum of best is actually almost 10 minutes off of the time that he got earlier, so there's definitely a lot of room to improve for him. So it looks like we're going to have BENNYMOON taking the lead from Chroma here after a solid invasion. Obviously, a couple things that went a little bit poor for him. You saw Benny having to ult out of doing the Jar Jar jumps and instead just force the platform and took a unfortunate death there, but now is back to being ahead. We still have a lot of run to go. Still 2.5 hours left in this one. But setting the tempo early is definitely going to be an important part of this tournament. Especially with the addition of the new pod race skip, which I'm interested to see how is going to be implemented throughout the tournament.
I'm sure we'll expect that to not be seen at all in this match, but you never know what could happen with Appleman specifically. That guy's kind of a strat demon. Yeah, someone pointed out in chat, I believe Gamer Olive has Bloom on. So you guys should be really thanking us for protecting your eyes with the brightness change. One interesting thing I think to think about here, obviously BENNYMOON, the 26th seed, so he is the last seed in the tournament. Currently, leading the race. It'll be hard to tell fully until we get the loadless time at the very end. But one interesting thing is that, because this is a triple elimination match, this is the only match pretty much in the play-ins are the only matches in the entire tournament where you just get one chance. If you're in the bottom rung, it is an elimination match, but you get at least to enter into the main bracket. With the plans, you just don't get another chance if you can't make it into the main bracket, and that's why it's so high stakes, especially when you're racing 3 people. I mean, you can't expect all 3 people to have bad performances, so you're gonna have to play well if you want to win.
We're in to escape from Naboo now. Let's take a look at some of this gameplay from all 4 of these runners here.
Yeah, this level really is all about taking, the right lines here. And we'll see how they do otherwise. There's not really too many tricks in this level other than the arch clip at the start and the ground shots and the camera pan skip at the end here. But it's interesting seeing this, I guess, at the lower tier races versus the higher tier races, because you might be able to see the difference in movement between the higher skilled and lower skilled runners here.
Now, that was a really interesting strat that I just saw BENNYMOON do specifically. He actually went for the elevator shots, but it looked like he jumped as he did them, which is kind of interesting because obviously the elevator sort of eats your jump, but it does save a fraction of a second, I guess, to just get that little extra height. And those micro optimizations are definitely like a hallmark of what it takes to be a really good speedrunner, especially for someone who is playing on keyboard, which is, slower in these first few levels here. So it's nice to see him saving a little bit of time there, and he is going to retain this lead out of the first 3 levels.
Right side shots from APPLEMAN.
Yeah, I saw that there.
And so the leader will be BENNYMOON, followed by ChromaQ, and then GamerOlive, and then APPLEMAN. Of course, anything can happen, especially in the next level. I mean, even Jared, last year, we had so many pod fraud misses, not even god fraud.
Yeah, and we didn't even have the new strat, and yet it still was a problem for a lot of runners. We even saw it's funny you mentioned that, because in the very, very first matchup in rung number 1, go figure, I ended up missing pod fraud in that match, and I think we ended up having, I don't know if we have an exact number of pod fraud misses during that, but it definitely happened more than once. I know it happened to Laser a couple of times. So this level, despite the fact that we're at a different level than some of the top runners, is still one to look out for and could be a huge tone setter early in this match.
Yeah, and so, P53, maybe you could talk us through a little bit about, the 2 potential different strats that we'll probably be seeing here, the 0 death and the 2 death strat, and what the difference is between them.
Yeah, so I guess to clarify, I don't imagine any of these runners will be going for the new lap 1 and lap 3 strat, unless APPLEMAN really decides to surprise us here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in pod race, all of these are going to be going for the standard, probably, pod fraud strat, which only skips a bit of lap 2. And the main thing that sort of determines how fast you do that strat is basically how many deaths you take out of bounds. Each time you take a death out of bounds, you obviously lose a little bit of time, and it's slightly riskier to go for a 0 death versus a 2 death here. So we'll see when BENNYMOON comes up to here what he ends up doing.
Yeah, I imagine we'll get some strat variants, but definitely at this level, I think you see 2 death quite a lot. It's the safest option, but that doesn't mean you can't mess it up. I mean, we saw players mess up 2 death last year.
Looks like he was able to hit the cutscene with no problems. Chroma and GamerOlive not too far behind.
Yeah, but this is really the deciding point here. Are they going to be able to hit the checkpoint right there, which is BENNYMOON looks like he's locked in there, should be able to get this.
Oh, Chroma got
Oh.
clipped through the rock. Uh-oh.
Oh.
I'm not sure if he knows how to save this. BENNYMOON is going for the classic beginner pod fraud strat.
Yep.
And we'll see. Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
So
Chroma's okay.
Chroma backed it up. That was nicely done that
Yeah.
time.
Also
From
going for the
Chroma.
safe strat there. Oh, GamerOlive
Oh,
is going
no.
backwards though.
Now, I think it's worth it to continue and not restart the level here, but this is going to be a massive time loss. I'm not entirely sure what.
Oh, he's at the very
Like,
start.
this is the start of the lap. I'm
Yeah,
actually really confused.
This is
what even
definitely
happened.
he needs to reset the game or reset the level if he wants to.
He should not reset the game. I would not advise that. Although it may be tempting at this point in time. But you know what's crazy?
Did APPLEMAN
The
just?
more that GamerOlive sits here and waits on this going backward screen, the bigger the lead becomes for everyone else. In fact, we're at a point where it's almost like the sunk cost fallacy, right? You can't restart the level. You've been sitting here for like a full minute, and now the predicted favorite to win this match by like almost like 85% is in a position where they're losing by multiple minutes to everyone. And now it's like, do we really think that this is still going to be the predicted winner? We see them panicking, like calling in player 2. I mean, this is such a huge timeout. This could be up to 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, you can see them taking deaths as well. We talked about this beforehand, how much of a tone setter that this level can be. And it may just seem like a simple trick, but missing it, and exactly what we're seeing here from Gamer Olive is why it's such a crucial level so early onto this run. We're only 12 minutes in, and Gamer Olive, in, as we mentioned, a triple elimination match where you have to win to advance, is going to be facing a multiple minute deficit here. But if we look on the bright side, we did go 3 for 4. BENNYMOON still holding out to a couple second lead over Chroma. And we had APPLEMAN as well hitting the trick. So they're on the plus side here. But Gamer Olive, as we mentioned, is still going backwards and still hasn't even hit the lap 2 cutscene yet. So this is a huge deficit that they're going to be facing early in this run.
And just to clarify, is Gamer Olive on lap 3 or lap 2?
They're
is
on
lap
lap
1.
2. This is lap 1,
Well,
yeah.
lap
They haven't
2,
even hit
yeah.
the lap 2 cutscene yet.
Technically,
Okay, I
lap
see.
2, I think.
Okay, yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, P53, maybe you can explain how this mechanic is even possible. Because, you know, in most ship levels, I know it's not a standard ship level, you can't turn your ship backwards. As we see, we are going to enter the lap 3 cutscene here finally.
Yeah,
But
luckily,
what is it about this level that makes the ship able to turn backwards completely?
Yeah, it's very odd. So this level obviously is very, very different from all the other vehicle levels in this game. In this level, right, you're basically pulled around on a fixed path, and I guess, you know, and when you do pod fraud, when you clip back in, like if you angle like to the right or to the left in certain parts of the track, you can just be at an angle where you enter the track turned around. And I guess, you know, the developers, they thought, you know, well, as long as I'm still pulling the ship around, you know, who cares about the angle, I suppose, you know.
Right.
So now we're
And since you're on
entering-
that fixed path, you can't just turn around, obviously.
Yeah.
So now we're into Theed Palace, where we could see our first potential variance here in strategies. I both saw BENNYMOON and Chroma going for the standard room 1 without theater clip, and no mistakes, and good button rooms from both. And APPLEMAN not too far behind as well, and Gamer Olive finally entering the pod race end cutscene. It's going to be a tough deficit to climb back from, but again, this is the play-ins, and anything can happen. Zach, I believe you were on the commentary for last year's initial play-in match. Is that correct?
I believe me and P53 were both commentating, I think.
I forgot, yeah.
Not
Do you
sure
have any
about that, but
recall of how the madness in that first race?
so, some of the, I mean, the spotlight last year was really all on APPLEMAN, and I'm definitely excited to see what he does again. But, you know, for better or for worse, was it on APPLEMAN, because he did crash in the end room of DSE, which only happened because he missed Falconless and was unable to hit the trigger. So he stayed in the room for so long that he spawned like a billion troopers. So, you know, these are the types of mistakes that, like, you know, if all these runners' PBs were 20 minutes faster, that would just be a nonsensical thing to even suggest happening. But
Didn't we
you know,
also have a bunker crash in
yes,
that race?
yeah. So that won't happen this time. But you know, anything can happen, and I think it's important to stress that in these play-ins. And I think that's why it's so hype that Gamer Olive is the one that lost 2 minutes. Maybe not a hype for him, but for everyone else, I mean, think about this, that they could take home an upset victory here in our very first match.
I promise
Yeah,
you
I
we
mean-
don't have favorites, despite all of us submitting our prediction forms.
I mean, my favorite is APPLEMAN, so I'll just be transparent about that.
Well, that's fair. I mean, how can it not be? You know, you see the one player Spiderless, the one player Droidovoid. It's like, what's not to like?
BENNYMOON still in the lead as APPLEMAN and Chroma trail not too far behind. APPLEMAN almost popping in bounds on the Theed 2 out of bounds, but he is chilling as of right now, and we'll see these cycle cutscene skips from BENNYMOON. There's 2 and there's 3. That's... Oh, never mind. I spoke too soon. Missed the last one. So... It looks like APPLEMAN is doing the dining room with Panaka instead of Qui-Gon. Could be a BTT reference, maybe.
And I think the only reason to do that is to shoot the statue, but you do lose the double jump movement.
So BENNYMOON out to an excellent start here in this race, opening up a comfortable lead on Chroma Q, who is struggling a little bit to shoot this last droid and wisely drops out player 1. So it's BENNYMOON in the lead, early lead, Chroma Q in second, APPLEMAN in third, and Gamer Olive, who you are just tuning in, missed Pod Fraud, and instead of resetting the level, proceeded to play the entirety of lap 2 backwards. So they are facing a multiple minute deficit here early in episode 1. But again, as we mentioned, still a lot of game left to be played.
Yeah, I mean, BENNYMOON somehow seeded 26th, perhaps, you know, the lowest on the favorites list to win this race, is in the lead and has been holding it, I think, pretty much the entire race. And not to mention just that, but Gamer Olive at, I think, a full 3-minute deficit here, Jared.
Yeah, definitely going to be hard to come back from, but BENNYMOON, as we mentioned, is one of 3 runners in this race who have set a personal best since the seeding concluded. His seeding time was only good enough to get into the ladder league by 4 seconds. He got a 2:49.56, but since then he has lowered his PB. No. Yep.
Okay. Sorry, continue.
His PB is now 2:45.27, which moved him 10 spots from 63rd to 53rd on the leaderboard. And as we mentioned, there's still lots of room for improvement. If you take a look at his sum of best, it's still around 6 or 7 minutes off of his end-up PB time. So lots of room for improvement, and with the pressure of the ladder league, as APPLEMAN unfortunately missed with a first try miss on DM1, but is able to back it up with a second try. But no, I spoke too soon once again.
And it takes another death. And now you have to wonder, I mean, are the nerves getting to these runners? And the answer is, of course they are. I mean, the occasion is massive. Like, you 3 of these runners are going to get eliminated. You have to win. And what I worry about is if these other competitors let BENNYMOON get such a big lead that he's just in front for the entire race, they're going to mentally give up and just let him steamroll all the way through.
Well, I will say, Zach, I think at this level, there is still quite a lot of variance in all the remaining episodes. You know, we are pretty much at the end of episode 1 here, but I don't think either of you would say that this is the episode with the most variance, I guess, other than Pod Fraud, potentially. So even though I guess Gamer Olive is, at this point, probably still 3 minutes behind, I can easily still see a 3-minute swing either way. There's just so much room for disaster in those later episodes.
And we'll have to see. I mean, obviously, you know, cycle skips don't lose too much time to attempt, but it'll be interesting to see if anyone goes for them, as BENNYMOON does some of the most interesting droidica skip or droidica movement that I've ever seen. No droidica skip was had. And by losing all of that time in DM3, you look just a few inches above BENNYMOON, and Chroma has pretty much fully caught up now.
Yeah, they were basically synced up going into that droidica cutscene, and they're both running down this hallway here in DM4 at the exact same time. So we'll see if either of them can make up any ground on cycle skips. BENNYMOON setting up Chroma just a couple seconds behind, and both of them with some mistakes on that first one. And BENNYMOON 1 frame off the second, and Chroma strikes back with a successful second cycle skip. So right on cue, Zach. This level proving to be some catching up for Chroma, and RTA, he will be in the lead leaving episode 1.
And I believe that's the first time the entire race we've seen the lead change hands, besides maybe the opening cantina. And I guess that's a good time to ask. I mean, we're seeing these 2 runners now neck and neck. But where is the first opportunity, P53, that you think Gamer Olive can get back into this? Because I think it's a long ways down the road.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. So the next level BHP, there can be, you know, opportunities for disaster there, you know, missing the lights a lot of times. But I don't think that will make up like 2 minutes in of itself. Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, for all of episode 2, really I feel for episode 2 in general, like, it's just gonna have to be like an accumulation of time losses from all the other runners for Gamer Olive to catch up there. Episode 4 definitely has very tough levels that you can lose tons of time on. Junland in particular, I can see someone potentially making minutes back just on that one level alone.
Yeah, and of course we do have Dooku skip in the one try in episode
Oh, yeah.
2, and that could be a big swing. But aside from that, I mean, you really can't pinpoint any massive like disaster-prone level besides Dooku.
So exiting episode 1, Chroma has now taken the lead. We saw the very small RTA difference, but it looks like from the actual load remove times that Chroma has about a 10-second advantage on loads. He exited episode 1 with a time of 22:03. BENNYMOON in second with 22:20. And APPLEMAN just 30 seconds behind that at a 22:55. So he has bounced back from that missed ICS pretty nicely with a good finish to the episode and is still within striking distance as we now head in to Bounty Hunter Pursuit. Talk about making up ground. We'll see if Gamer Olive, who is wrapping up this mall, can make up some time on these cycle skips.
It might be a little bit early to say gonna need this, but it certainly would help.
Oh, he's
not even gonna
for that.
attempt it.
There you go.
It does call into a question just another factor. Like, we don't necessarily know if these runners are keeping track of the gap. You know, of course Gamer Olive knows that he lost all that time on pod race, but he might not know that everyone else didn't do that. And so that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna immediately start changing all of your strats, Jared.
Yeah, we're learning on the fly as we go as well. We don't exactly know at this level what all of these runners are going to be going for. So you will be finding out at the same time that we are. And right on cue, we'll get to see some strat differences here in Bounty Hunter Pursuit. It looks like BENNYMOON left both of his players called in. He will be attempting the 1P2C in this room, and Chroma had only one player called in. This looks like a pretty solid room 1 so far from Benny. All of his torpedoes hit. So just from not making any mistakes in that room, he's already saving quite a bit of time to Chroma, who is opting for the one player only strats in that room. So the risks so far have been paying off for BENNYMOON, trying to make up some more ground here to start episode 2.
Does look like Apple will also be going for the one-player strat here. Probably the strat he's more comfortable with, given he's more of a mobile runner.
Now, one thing I wasn't keeping track of is how many people reset after episode 1. I actually didn't notice.
Looks
so
like Gamer
Chroma
Olive did.
APPLEMAN, I think, did also.
So it may have been everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, episode 1 resets, but he didn't, or?
I don't think he did, no.
Okay. Yeah, episode 1 reset, I think, has been meta for a little bit now. It is, like, relatively recent. But yeah, I guess the main thing it affects is the Jedi battle manipulation that will be coming up later in this episode. Depending on whether you reset or if you do the manip in episode 1, you will get different patterns to look out for in Jedi battle.
BENNYMOON having a little bit of a hard time here in this room 2. Got some trouble hitting the lights, and Chroma, who is still only having one player called in, having some trouble as well. But it looks like if Benny can hit these torpedoes without any blanks,
That
little
one
bit of
there.
scuffed movement.
He did blank, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
blanked one on the right.
Retains his gap, but I don't think that necessarily means he's in the lead, right? Because he does have that RTA
Yeah.
advantage.
Yeah.
Does look like Chroma Q is doing the 60 useless facts tower right there, leaving the middle one there, potentially. One of those towers you do not actually need to hit to complete the room.
Gamer Olive looks like is also keeping one player called in, so we'll expect to see some one-player strats from them as well. Meanwhile, as we have 3 cutscenes here coming up as we head into Camino, I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on the entire ladder, because we have 26 competitors, which is around the same as we had last summer, but a different format, a shorter tournament, lots of returning faces, and lots of new ones as well.
Well, one thing to really take note of here, Jared, is the lack of returning faces, specifically the lack of specific returning faces. You know, Evan's not in it this year, I'm not in it this year, and we are all but guaranteed to be crowned a new champion unless Senor can pull off the greatest tournament run of his life. So I think it'll be really, really interesting to see how the top 8 pans out, especially with these new sort of top 8 level runners like Dragon, like, you know, Anorak, and just all of the new runners that have been kind of improving in the last year between now and then.
So right on cue to start this Camino, BENNYMOON is already going to be making up some time on Chroma. He attempted R4 fly and nailed it on the first try as APPLEMAN just barely too far to the right. And he's also going to be attempting Camino button skip here as well. We'll see if Benny can hit it, gets out of bounds, looks good. Can he execute the fly and solidify his lead? Yes, he can. Nicely done from BENNYMOON. A great start to this Camino for him.
And Camino, generally considered one of the most execution heavy, one of the most difficult levels in the entire game. So that's going to be a really nice cushion for him.
And with Chroma not even attempting KBS as well, that's about 15 seconds. Actually, that's more than that Benny has saved on Chroma from being aggressive. Putting the foot on the gas, and it's paying off so far for Benny. Out of BHP, Benny actually regained the lead on Chroma, so he made up that 17-second gap that he faced at the start of BHP. Is now in the lead by around 2 LRT seconds, but is definitely going to be extending this lead, assuming that he can execute the rest of the level in a way that doesn't lose time. And now Apple and Chroma are basically synced up as well, so the safe mentality from Chroma is coming to bite him a little bit here in this Camino, which, I mean, that just goes to show the amount of skill that we're seeing in this tournament.
I mean, look at the gap between Apple and Chroma. They're almost synced up now.
At this level, with both the players, or all 4 of these players in the 2-4x range, I think that the aggression is going to favor these runners. The more aggressive you are, the better I think things will turn out. But I think as we head towards the higher level runners, as we head towards 2-2x and 2-3x territory, I'm very curious to see, as we were talking about earlier with all the matches and all of the stakes that are in this tournament, there's so many new strats and so much riskier movement and tricks that are being done, and it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how everyone attacks that, and that could be the difference between match wins and match losses.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how Benny plays the end of this match. Right now, he's the one that's doing quite a lot of the advanced strats, but if he does build up a lead, it does give him the option, I guess, to sort of coast at the end to like an easier victory by going for less risky stuff at the end. It all depends on whether he can secure this lead here in the early episodes.
And Benny, a really solid Camino here.
he's hit everything first try, right? Like, I don't know if I missed something, but yeah, I mean,
He
that's
got the clip first try as well.
that's
I
something
think this is
top
gonna be
runners
a-
aren't even gonna get sometimes.
I think this is a massive Camino Gold here from Benny. If you take a look at his sum of best, his Camino Gold coming into this race was a 515. And with first try everything, first try R4 fly, first try KBS, and first try clip, that should be an easy sub 5 for Benny.
I will say the gap between Chroma and Apple has widened quite a bit. Appleman struggling a bit with that clip out of bounds there, opting instead to just use R2 at the end there.
So it wasn't quite a sub 5. So again, Jared misinformation strikes again, but it was a 5-second gold on Camino for BENNYMOON, who is extending his lead here in this race. It looks like, in terms of his delta to his PB, he's only 13 seconds behind. So already early PB watch here, and despite the fact that he is behind, Chroma is 1 minute and 40 seconds ahead of his PB. So, but I mean, at this point, the PBs don't matter. It's winning the race. That is what matters here in this run. As we mentioned several times before, only the winner will advance into the play-in final against Yehoodles and Nolan, who will be watching very closely here today. A triple elimination match. The only time in this entire tournament that this many runners will get eliminated from one match.
Now, this is definitely an interesting part of the run. It's sort of a lull. You have a 40-second cutscene followed by over a minute cutscene, and two relatively I'll say fast-paced levels, and so it gives you a little bit of a break. But I think it really just points to what P53 was saying with how this race is going, about how it's just going to be those little time losses adding up in episode 2 if we really are going to see someone like Gamer Olive come back into it. And how is Gamer Olive meant to do that when BENNYMOON is putting down a first try everything Camino?
Oh no, Gamer Olive did get the clip out of bounds there, but all hitting the transition there, so unable to skip the cutscene. That's tragic loss there from Gamer Olive on that Camino out of bounds.
Oh my god, that's a lot worse.
And he hit the back transition, I think. Because
I don't think
Yeah,
I've
he-
ever seen that mistake before.
Yeah, so I've done this before, and I remember I went crazy when it happened because it was the first time I've ever seen that. Maybe P53, you can explain a little bit why that just happened.
Yeah, so a lot of transitions in this game, they usually, for every door, you have 2 transitions. One of them will take you to the next part of the level as you would expect, but the other one is actually the door you use to sort of go back to the level. So if you hit that wrong transition there, it'll just send you back to where you just were. So that's what happened to Gamer Olive there, sort of getting the double whammy of unluckiness there, having to watch the cutscene and getting put back.
Yeah, that's the case for almost every single room transition in the game. I know it's the case in secret plans, it's the case in feed. There's a lot of different areas that can that can happen, and most of the time it's really only a factor in practice. Just because, you know, if you brick bench into a specific level and have to go all the way to where a room is starting, that's kind of the only time you really have to worry about it. But Gamer Olive, unfortunately, will be losing some more time to the leaders here with a very unlucky string of events.
BENNYMOON, and I guess it was just on the spinner section, and Chroma Q is now in the bucket section. I guess this does bring up one other way that runners can gain or lose time, though I hope this doesn't happen in the actual race, which is that there are certain things in this game that can soft lock you, which will require you to restart the level. Of course, all of those things are pretty much as bad as like getting a bad pod race potentially. So luckily did not happen there on the Droid Factory spinners or the bucket there for Chroma Q, but gotta mention that is an option, I guess.
And I imagine you remember that happened last year, Jared, to E Roadhouse.
Yes, it did. And that was kind of the big reason that E Roadhouse fell a little bit in the rungs. I mean, at the end of the day, it didn't end up mattering as he won when it counted and took the tournament against myself. But yeah, Droid Factory soft lock cost him. I believe it was in week. Was it in week 1? Was it in the second rung? I think it was
in week 1.
I think it was week 1, rung 2, where that happened, and so he got moved all the way down to rung 3, but then he ended up winning 3 matches in a row to take the 4th seed, where he eventually. Oh, Appleman! No!
So that's not as bad as a soft lock, but it's definitely like the second worst mistake that can happen in this room.
Chroma called in player 2 a little early, but he knows his backups. I think that's something that we've seen early in this race from Chroma, is that he knows how to back up those mistakes, which I think in a lower rung matchup like this could potentially end up being pivotal. We saw Gamer Olive in Pod Race. They didn't know that if you reset your game, that's faster than just playing the whole entire lap backwards. And those are just some of the backups that knowing could potentially add that you have to do them, but knowing them could potentially make up time and get you right back on track.
You know, I will be honest, I wasn't looking at the screen when you guys sort of freaked out during the escort room, and we had just been talking about, you know, Gizmo softlocks in this level, and hearing both of you exclaim that right as I saw him enter that room, you know, that did worry me a little bit. So I'm kind of glad that didn't happen, but it does, you know, does give Gamer Olive just a little bit of a chance to get back into the 3rd place position. But I mean, what does the 3rd place position really do for you here, Jared? Not much.
It doesn't do anything. Again, the only thing that matters is winning the race. That is, you win in advance. That is the deal here in play-in match number 1 here live on both the LEGO Speedruns Twitch channel and the TCS Speedrunning Community YouTube. This is our first multi-stream that we got put together here, so hi to our folks that are watching on YouTube, as well as everyone who is watching on Twitch. The LEGO Speedrunning Community YouTube channel has been very busy as of lately. I want to give a shout out to Core Competence, who has been very busy with the BTT project, which released last week.
Been a big month of content.
Yeah, Zach was a big contributor for that as well. Can I talk us through that a little bit, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest project that we've had ongoing in the community for what, 4 or 5 years now has been the BTT, and I think it's so interesting that we now have a finalized version. Maybe not one that's, you know, perfect yet, because that's impossible, but it's such a cool project to have, like, documented on the YouTube channel, !YouTube, if you guys want to go check that out, and see all the work that Core Competence put into the editing, and there's just so much work that was involved with all the segments. And, you know, it was just cool seeing that any runner of any level could have a segment in the BTT if they just grinded a little bit. And so it was a really cool inclusion thing.
23 runners were featured in the BTT project. None of them are in this race, unfortunately. Actually, did Chroma have a segment? I don't think he did. I know Detra had a few segments in there, but not Chroma. So none of the runners that are featured in this race in particular. But back to the gameplay. Looks like Benny had a pretty solid Jedi battle. He's building up his lead even more on both Chroma and Apple, as Chroma moving on to the second wave and APPLEMAN starting up the 3rd pillar. If you take a look at the Run.gg, which shout out to the Run.gg, by the way, as they will be providing the race software for the 2nd year in a row for the TCS Ladder League. But if you want to go check out the live race deltas, go to the Run.gg/races, and the TCS Ladder League races at the top of that page. You can check out the live deltas, the live BPTs of every single one of the runners. As we mentioned, only one can advance, but right now it looks like BENNYMOON has gotten out to a blazing start. He's currently looks like 17 seconds ahead of Chroma as we headed into Jedi Battle, but it looks like this lead is going to increase as we head into Gunship.
I think this is a great time to ask P53. I've really never asked this. how does the second barrier skip in this level actually work? Because I don't quite understand why your player is dropping in the air. I kind of assumed that was just impossible.
Oh, you mean like when you do the backflip with the
Yeah.
ship? Yeah, I mean, I think just in it's sort of weird, but like in vehicle levels, the drop-in mechanics are very different from. Oh, I guess BENNYMOON fails it there, but
Not a great showcase.
yeah, but in vehicle levels, unlike the regular ground levels, if one player's dropped out, the other ship isn't there, but they actually are there. They're just invisible and just tracking the other player that you have dropped in. So if you flip, like that other like invisible not dropped in player will just follow your other ship around even during the flip. So if you just call them in at the top of the flip, you'll just get height. And it's not exclusive to the gunship. I get the gunships themselves. You can do this, I think, with any of the ships, I believe. But this is probably the most useful version in terms of the any percent run.
Yeah, it's very... The vehicle, I think, tech throughout this game is definitely a lot different and more complex than the normal levels, as Benny closing out this arena. It looks like Chroma missed the second barrier skip on his first try, but recovers with a second try, just as BENNYMOON hits the cutscene with a pretty solid gunship. After that mistake that he had on that second barrier, he was able to back it up with a very clean arena. And now, as Zach said, this is really kind of the only spot in this episode 2 where a really, really big gap could potentially be held here, as, of course, the infamous Dooku skip is awaiting these runners. But with recent days, I feel like this skip has kind of been solved, if you will. I think with the setups that we're doing right now.
You got to be careful with the word
I think
solved,
that's a very
Jared.
risky thing to say, especially as the runners are about to do the trick. But we'll see if BENNYMOON has solved it himself in a second here.
Yeah, TCS
big.
doesn't have too many one tries here, but this is one of them.
There you
Does
go.
end up nailing it though. So very solid opening from BENNYMOON.
That was a
That's
really
a
interesting setup.
that I've not seen before.
Yeah, well,
But I mean, it's true. Many different setups work for this trick. You'll see probably a different one from Chroma, and you might even see a different one from the other two runners. This is just one of those tricks that just can be done so many different ways because the mechanic of it is just so basic. It's just a simple... Sorry,
Very
I don't
weird.
know what...
Yeah,
I'm
APPLEMAN is
watching.
taking a large detour here.
That
What is
was
going
interesting.
on?
I'm trying to figure out where the bomb was
I think he
supposed
lost
to
a
go.
bomb. I think he lost a bomb. Like,
Yeah.
he still has
I don't
one
think
at
I've
the
ever
end
seen
there,
this
so-
order, though. He still has to shoot the turrets.
Now this
Now he's
could
going
be
to
a
get another
custom
one.
order.
Yeah.
Well, that was certainly interesting from APPLEMAN,
And what's
the man
more
himself.
interesting is that Chroma Q is going to be killing some Geonosians right now on his
Oh
screen.
boy.
And I watched that happen, and I didn't process that that's what was happening. So there we go. There's
I
our
mean-
first one.
I think we can now conclude that this trick is definitively not solved. Oh no, and falling
man.
off the platform there. You do need to force these two levelers simultaneously.
And this is sort of what the play-ins are all about. You can't expect this to happen too much in the top rungs of the ladder early on. But when you go down to the play-ins and these runners are, they have many less hours in the game than some of the other runners in the ladder league, and they're still improving by quite a bit, and they might not be familiar with backups and setups for everything. You're going to get these massive swings in terms of just gameplay and differences and gaps.
I like the quote, expect the unexpected. That is definitely the name of the game here in the play-ins. So BENNYMOON, at one point, was facing a deficit not too long ago, leaving Droid Factory, is now going to build up a pretty monster lead as we head into the probably arguably the most difficult episode 4, where again we could see a lot of variance from these four runners. But if I'm Chroma or APPLEMAN, it's
Wait,
full. Full gas.
Oh, Gamer Olive left the one that you can leave there in the end room. I just realized.
Useless
So,
fact.
another useful fact, you might say.
So Chroma still hasn't split yet. I saw Gamer Olive below BENNYMOON on the run.gg, but they are still have a long way to go in catching up to this one. So that just goes to show how much of a lead that Benny has now built up, as he is the first to enter the episode 4 opening cutscene here in Secret Plans, which pretty relevant in today's day with the conclusion of the series Andor, which I would highly recommend if you're into Star Wars watching that series. I know both me and Zach have.
Yep, and Jared will be murdered in cold blood if he spoils the show for me. So
I will
he's
not.
gonna have to be careful.
I promise.
Well, anyway, this is definitely a bit of downtime here. So it's a great time to talk about just the stakes of the race, because I don't have the exact number, but I can tell you I believe over 80% of the people that did predictions, which is over 50 by the way, crazy, predicted Gamer Olive to win this match. I mean, just think about this. Gamer Olive, tried to claw his way back through episode 2 and completely failed. In fact, I don't know if the gap is any smaller than it was after Pod Race. And so now we're coming into episode 4 here, the third episode of the run, thinking, what happens if BENNYMOON does close this out and completely upsets everyone?
Well, I know what's going to happen. BENNYMOON is going to move on to the play-in finals against the Hoodles and Nolan and break a lot of people's hearts. The predictions... It's funny you mentioned the predictions, because last year we lost all perfect predictions after the second play-in match, and we could be in for a similar fate here in Season 2 if the results stay the way they are.
Now, I'd personally say it's more likely to make a perfect March Madness bracket than a perfect Ladder League bracket. Just my opinion.
That's a bold statement.
Hey, maybe we have an oracle in the chat that can let us know who is going to win this match. Let us know your predictions, guys. If you are still a Chroma Q fan, if you are still a BENNYMOON fan, if you believe Gamer Olive can make the comeback, if you believe APPLEMAN can come from behind and secure the victory, I'm really curious what you guys think. My money is no longer on Gamer Olive. I'll admit it. I was wrong. I thought it would be Gamer Olive. I think BENNYMOON is going to keep putting his foot on the gas. He's playing so aggressively. He's playing so well. I think that this is his race to lose.
Quick time to mention kind of the rest of the schedule here for the rest of the week, as all 26 runners will be in action this week, with week 1 of the ladder beginning on Monday the 19th. Our first matchup that has been scheduled so far, we'll have a doubleheader action on Tuesday afternoon. The first matchup will be rung number 3 between Dragon, Laser, and Dimey. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday the 20th, immediately followed by rung number 5 between Twice Light Phantom and T-Fresh. Is that happening at the same time? I think... let me check the scheduled matches thread.
I believe that's a pre-recorded match, at least for one of them. So I'm not entirely sure when that'll be. It's probably flexible, but I guess we'll have to see. I do notice that Chroma Q just scaled the entire room 2 there with the bridge fully extended. So I can only imagine that was not intended.
Okay, so it looks like that rung 3 matchup is at 1 o'clock, and then the rung 5 matchup is at 5 o'clock. So that is correct on the sheet. So a doubleheader on Tuesday to kick off week number 1. And then as of right now, we have 2 other scheduled matches of the 7 rungs. Rung number 6 will take place on Saturday the 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern. That'll be between Charizite, Zoda, and Quasar. And then number 1, the matchup of the week between myself, Frost, and Wii Super will be Sunday night in primetime at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday the 25th. So lots of matchups this week, lots of great action. All 26 runners will be in play this week. only one will qualify for the top 8 at the end of this week. Of course, the winner of Run 1. Last year, it was Zach who qualified for that week number 1 in a pretty uneventful race between myself, Ginger, and Zach.
Now, I would argue it was definitely eventful.
Well, if you look at the
Not
final
in a good way.
yeah,
Yes, but
not in a great way.
You know, you actually say the the match of the week might be Rung 1, but I say the match of the week is going to be that Quasar Charizard Zoda match. I am beyond excited for that one.
Oh, that's a great matchup right there.
Yeah, Quasar is arguably the hottest runner in the entire community when it comes to how well that they have been.
Say.
Okay.
Oh. Sorry.
You get what I mean. I've never met the man, but his gameplay is definitely on fire. He has set multiple PBs within the last week. He has set his time down from barely in the sub 3 range just a couple weeks ago to now sitting in the low 2-3x range. He got a 233 the other day and is closing on the door or knocking on the door of sub 230 time. So he'll definitely be one to watch out for as we move throughout the ladder. It's a long tournament. We have 9 weeks if you include the playoff bracket, but his name is certainly one to look out for. He is the one that I said will make a lot of noise on the prediction sheet.
And as we move into room 1 of Junglin here, P53, maybe you could talk us through the 2 different meta strats, I suppose, for this room. I'm actually not sure which one we're going to see. I imagine well, I guess there's 3 strats, right?
There's 3, I guess, yeah. So yeah, obviously this, if you've watched an any percent run of TCS, I guess since, I don't even know, this strat's been around for a long time. Runners are going to try to get the fast force red brick here. And there's 3 different ways of sort of getting this red brick. Normally, it's tricky to collect in story. There is the slow force method, which is the method used by top runners where they clip out at the start of the room. There is this fast, I guess, EJP method where you jump to the right of this transition that BENNYMOON is coming up here. Or there is, I guess, he hit the transition there. Or there's this method, which you see BENNYMOON's going over for. This is the oldest method, where you jump over the satellite and you get out of bounds this way. This is definitely the most beginner method. It is probably the safest. It is the slowest, though.
So yeah, some opportunity for other runners to save time, not only just from the miss, but also from perhaps doing a faster strat. Who knows if that'll make the difference? I mean, BENNYMOON has got a lead, and he's just got to hold on to it at this point.
So we'll see if this aggressive mentality from BENNYMOON will retain throughout this Junglin. You mentioned he didn't go for slow force in that first room, but could potentially go for a jump here. He's not. He's going to opt for the safe route on the Bantha.
Yeah, this will definitely, if any of these other runners elect to do the BBJ strat in this room, which does skip this really, really slow movement to the Bantha here to get up the pipe, they can stand to gain quite a bit of time against Benny here.
Which, I mean, kind of what we were saying earlier about with Zach, you kind of need it at this point. But I'm not sure exactly if any of them are aware of kind of where the race stands. And I don't even know if any of these runners actually do those strats. So we'll see what happens. It looks like Chroma is not going for slow force as well. And same with APPLEMAN. So uneventful Junglin so far, and it's still BENNYMOON with a very comfortable lead, which is now built up to over a minute and a half, almost a minute and a half. A minute and 28 seconds that he leads Chroma Q by. And APPLEMAN has made up the deficit in third place right now. Okay, no, he's not. There's a big RTA difference. They look close on the screen right now, but Chroma is almost 50 seconds ahead of him on loads.
Yeah, it looks like both Chroma and APPLEMAN will be electing to do a safer strat here, both in doing the satellite jump and also in collecting that power up there on the left. I guess that's not something you see too much these days, but it does definitely make handling those Tusken Raiders a little bit easier.
Well, it's pretty easy to see the visualized gap between Gamer Olive and everyone else right now. I mean, we've talked about how tough this is going to be to overcome, but it almost feels like it might be time to just start looking at the implications of the top two right now. BENNYMOON is so far ahead of anyone else that the challenger no longer is Gamer Olive, despite being favored, despite starting out with a deficit and hoping to come back. It might feel like it's just off the table at this point, and BENNYMOON haters are relying on someone like Chroma Q to come back instead.
That's a very bold statement coming from someone who I know has commentated a lot of ladder league matches and seen just how much can go wrong in the second half of the run, even when it seems like all things are said and done. Especially knowing that I was the victim in some of these cases.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, Zach, I do agree with you. No one has ever made more than, I guess, a minute worth of mistakes after Junland.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
definitely not on the Lego Speedruns Twitch stream.
Gamer Olive also electing to do the satellite jump there, so everyone basically doing the same strat. Oh no, but Gamer Olive hitting the slippery collision there. We'll have to redo this jump over.
And the lead just keeps getting further and further away from Gamer Olive, taking a tumble down the hill. And at this point, BENNYMOON is going to be in spaceport by the time Gamer Olive enters the room with the Bantha in it.
Yeah. Yeah, this out of bounds movement here is very tricky. It's not very intuitive where you have to go, and if you deviate from these lines, it's very easy to just hit some unexpected slippery collision out of bounds and just fall to your death. So we did see that once there, but looks like we will be picking up the red brick here and moving on with this Junland.
So speaking of spaceport, this level is very, very different from if you watched the ladder league last summer to where it is now. And Zach is a big reason why. Zach, can you kind of talk about what this new skip and what exactly how it works and what we are expected to see here from BENNYMOON?
So there's two setups here for the first part of this trick, and he's going to go for the earlier setup. So I don't think he killed 3PO, did he? Okay, he did. Okay, so he does fail it here. And I'm curious if he's going to go for it again, or if he is actually abandoning the trick entirely. Now, that might not look as bad as it is. That's really bad. That is going to lose him like 40 seconds.
Well, it can potentially lose him more depending on how another trick later in this level ends up going.
He was hoping he wouldn't have to do. Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, he kind of interrupted me there, but what you'll see as the other runners get to it is there's two main strats. There's one where you perform an auto dropout and you wait for the speeder to come back to you and you hop on and do speeder clip. There's another strat where you get in the speeder and drive to the end of the room. Either way, the result is the same. You are performing a player 3 glitch onto C-3PO, such that he will always be walking up left until the player 3 glitch is cleared. And a player 3 glitch is only cleared on the status screen, so...
Yeah. Does Benny know how to back this up? He's struggling a lot here on this clip.
Yeah. And it looks like Zach has officially commentators cursed BENNYMOON. That probably won't be the last time that happens in this race, but...
Keep in mind, Zach did predict Gamer Olive on his prediction, so it's very likely that he's hoping BENNYMOON will somehow lose this gigantic lead, although it is unlikely. But I mean, look at this, that this is a huge deficit that he's going to be at now, because there will be 30 seconds more of time loss in the end of the level for him.
He doesn't. I don't think he knows how to do this method, because there's, like you mentioned, there's a couple of different ways that you can cue the player 3 glitch, and it looks like he's just going to go on and do the old ending for this level. So he lost about 40 seconds trying to click through the door, and now he's going to lose another 30 because he's not going to be going for the new fry skip. So a chance here for APPLEMAN and Chroma to make up some ground. We'll see if they can do it. APPLEMAN gets the player 3 glitch. That's big.
And Chroma does not. Chroma missed it the first time.
And he missed it the second time too. He got the redrop in.
Wow. And is he going to also abandon it? Oh my god, what a huge swing just happened in this first room of Spaceport. You know, this is not a trivial room. This trick is not technically a one try, but it's definitely very, very punishing to miss. And we have just seen APPLEMAN make up a massive deficit by virtue of just not completely messing up that trick.
That's about like a full minute swing, I'd argue.
Okay, so this is not how you do the Diagro. So he is going to have to kill the guys. So this is not a clean spaceport from anyone so far, but by far the least bad from APPLEMAN. And look at that. Perfectly synced our Apple and Chroma.
Yeah.
Okay, but Chroma looks like he's going for the backup here. Does he know how to do it? Let's see. He got the redropping on the wrong player. Okay, he got it. He got player 3 glitch. So he did
What
know
is
how to back it
happening on
up.
Chroma's screen right now? I'm okay.
That's the wrong. Okay, that'll work. That'll work. That's fine. So Chroma, his knowledge of the backups is continuing to benefit him. Benny is taking the spy fight skip very, very safe. It looks like he's just gonna let R2.
Oh my
regain
god,
his-
you just murdered Luke.
That was cold-blooded. So BENNYMOON still enters the Falcon first, but Chroma is going to still be saving some time here to BENNYMOON because of the fact that he was able to back up a missed player 3 glitch in the first room. And APPLEMAN is going to be saving a lot of time as well because he was able to get it in the first room. So in one level, we suddenly have ourselves a race. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, thank goodness. It looked like for a second that APPLEMAN did not get the correct movement. Cue the cutscene, but all is well, and suddenly we have ourselves a race.
I mean, you know, almost as if perfectly on cue, right after I completely commentator's curse it, we now see a massive swing such that APPLEMAN is, I mean, what, less than 30 seconds behind, I'd say at this point, maybe around there. And that was from a 1.5 minute lead that BENNYMOON had over Chroma, who was in second.
See, Gamer Olive should be able to get this player 3 glitch off in the cantina there. So it looks like they'll be able to attempt the trick as well. It would have been interesting to see a spy fight skip, I guess, that miss, which is something that really does not happen anymore, but we almost got a chance to see there.
And I think, personally, Jared, this is a great lesson in how momentum is everything in these matches.
Absolutely. I mean, we were just talking about it in the Junlin end cutscene, how with the Ladder League and how crazy it's been in last year's running of the tournament, how anything is possible. And we're seeing that right on cue, just how much things can change in an instant. And now, BENNYMOON, who is still, it should be worth mentioning, he's still in the lead, but he had a 1.5 minute lead entering Spaceport, and his lead now only sits at 20 seconds.
And a Princess out of bounds miss as well. This type of stuff is going to add up, and oh my gosh, that was
I almost thought that
close.
missed.
That gave me a heart attack.
Oh, wow, I mean, that was a pure reaction from me there. I really did not think that worked.
Miss from APPLEMAN though, so, and another miss there, so hopefully won't be making that much time up to Benny here, but
Yeah, that's big for Benny.
another miss. A Chroma Q might just take the lead here versus APPLEMAN.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but BENNYMOON did not get Tractor Beam, right?
He did not. No.
Oh,
And now that could be another point of interest here in this race because, you know, not grabbing Tractor Beam opens you up to like a literal like full minute time loss due to bad RNG. We hope that doesn't happen, but I mean, it really is going to make a difference here if he doesn't get lucky.
Yeah.
Appleman is still trying to get this out of bounds. He finally gets it. But that again, oh no, he fell out of bounds.
Now, Chroma Q trying to get the red brick here, having a little trouble getting this clip up. Does end up getting it.
I think it's time to say any semblance of order that we had in this match is completely gone. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw Chroma Q struggling to get Tractor Beam for the last 35 seconds, but I mean, this is a classic play-in match right here.
Oh, Appleman with the Chewy, he got the clip the fastest there, but unfortunately does not get the jump off. He's
getting a bad camera.
Yeah. He needs to be going oh no. Does finally end up getting it there, but this is the opportunity for Gamer Olive. If they are able to get this out of bounds quickly, they might be making up quite a bit of time on this princess.
Right on cue, Gamer Olive with a first try princess out of bounds. See if they can hit the door, which almost caused Appleman some problems, and no problem getting into the transition. So Gamer Olive could potentially move into third place here. They're doing a good job of staying focused and keeping their foot on the gas here. But again, first place is the only thing that matters here in this race.
Appleman is getting Obi-Wan cursed right here. Just decided to show up then. Not sure if he did the elevator backup. But, yeah, Obi-Wan has the chance of getting stuck on some barrels there. And I guess, got a little bit stuck there for Appleman.
And I think P53, this shows your analysis earlier was absolutely perfect. I mean, we saw the time losses in episode 2 add up, and the moment we hit episode 4, it's like boom. Everyone is losing multiple decades of seconds on, like, it's ridiculous.
Decades of seconds, I think, is a new sentence that has never been said before.
Decades of seconds, yeah.
Commentator getting a little too creative here for no reason as we head into Trash Skip. Jared, maybe you can talk a little bit about how Trash Skip could potentially influence the race here.
Well, there's definitely a lot of different ways that this trick can give you some trouble. Did we see BENNYMOON switch to 40 hertz?
This looks like 40.
Okay, so he's gonna lodge Chewy into a corner here. Looks like he's gonna go for it. Build it on the last piece, and then do some pause buffers here. That should work.
The last pause was a little suspect. I don't think it was necessary, but it does work.
Nice. So now here comes the very nerve-wracking out-of-bounds movement here from Benny. Taking a death with Han, but keeping Chewy at a reasonable distance out of bounds. No room for error here on this out-of-bounds movement. He's very low. Okay. He's fine. He's going to take a safe route here around it. And now here comes the biggest part of this string. He's so close, and he gets in to the next room. That was a very nerve-wracking trash skip by BENNYMOON. But is able to get it. And Chroma is not doing trash skips. So once again, the aggressive mentality from BENNYMOON is going to benefit him. He's going to gain around 20 seconds here on Chroma.
Outside of trash skip, though, there are still quite a lot of other ways to lose time in this level. Of course, we're going to have Ripmore skip later in the level, and also the helmet. I think earlier in the room, BENNYMOON almost got the helmet shot off, and losing the helmet here does lose a bit of time as well. So DSC definitely is a level where, I mean, like I said, as we saw earlier with Junland and Junland, Spaceport and Princess, that's like a quad of just highly variable levels.
Well,
this is not the DSC that Benny is looking for right now. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah, maybe I should just stop talking.
I think that was a third or fourth try Ripmore skip that time from Benny, and he popped in bounds early and is going to have to deal with these stormtroopers. So that gap that he built up to after he got trash skip looks like it's going to be diminishing a little bit here after a poor Ripmore skip. But he is going to go for the backup here. He's going to get the helmet. What is he doing here? He doesn't have to build that. Okay, I guess this is smart, kind of. Not the most optimal way to do that, but he's gonna have to keep Chewy instead of Han up here. This is very interesting backup here being done by BENNYMOON, but assuming this goes fine, which it does, we get back on track.
I don't know about that one. I did.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fine, but
Yeah.
I will say that only one runner has completed trash skip here.
Yeah. I think Chroma Q and Gamerall just didn't even go for it. So
No, they did not.
Wow. I mean, this is what you expect from this level, I would say. In this level especially, like, you know that DSE is going to be a massive sort of, meltdown potential level, but you never are really prepared for it, especially when it's 4 people doing it at once, Jared.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to keep track of, and there's, like you said, there's so much variance and so many different things that could happen. As looks like Chroma lost his helmet as well. He did not do Ripmore skip, so he probably just lost it from going up the elevator on Ripmore. We'll see if he can get here without any problems. That's a lot of stormtroopers that are waiting on top there. As
oh yeah.
Benny having trouble hitting the Falconless jump. Did he not hit the spline?
No, Chroma, no. Did I miss something? I swear Chroma did not drop out Han there.
This
What is going on
look at
with
the
Benny
bottom
Moon
right of
here?
our screens right now.
Chroma
Benny
hit
was,
the
No.
I
Oh,
don't
no,
think
dude.
Chroma hit the spline either.
Oh
what is
no.
going on? This is okay.
Oh, there he is.
Finally, BENNYMOON hits it. I was
Oh
about
my
to say 'cause
gosh.
he
Right.
definitely hit the spline and was just having so much trouble finding the transition there. But Chroma, we are gonna be waiting very anxiously for the end of this level to see if he ended up hitting that spline. If he doesn't, that's basically
only
game
pray.
over for Chroma.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for those who don't know, in this level, you do need to backtrack to a very specific point in the level in order to hit the trigger at the end there, like you just saw on BENNYMOON's screen. But if you do, but you have to make sure your character crosses that point in the level, otherwise the trick will not work, and you'll have to just play the end room normally. Actually, I don't
Here we
even
go,
know if
let's
it's
hold our
faster to go back.
breath. He
There
got
you
it.
go, that's
Okay.
it. Oh my god.
Thank goodness.
And that's going to make up so much time to BENNYMOON as well. Wow.
Oh yeah. Honestly, like the time changes are just it's all over the place in this episode.
Least
4,
eventful ladder league play in DSE right here.
Yeah. I mean,
So for those who we mentioned at the very start of this broadcast that the Knicks game is currently going on. Frostbite,
guy.
a known Knicks fan. Currently, it's not much of a contest right now. The Knicks are up by 38 points with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So
Actually, they're up by 34 points.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry, Zach. My fault. I can't do math. I'm so sorry.
Well, we are heading into a long cutscene here. Quickly, Jared, could you give us a refresher on the gap specifically, maybe?
Yeah, so BENNYMOON obviously very ahead in first place with a 1:13.07. Wait a minute. Actually, he's not ahead. Chroma has taken the lead. Chroma with a
Wow.
1:13.02 DSE exit, and the safe gameplay from Chroma ended up benefiting him. He makes up nearly a minute of time in DSE and is now leading by 5 seconds with the load removes times. That is crazy.
And how far behind is Olive?
Olive is only a minute.
it's a
and
blank
14
for
seconds
BENNYMOON.
behind.
oh no. Okay.
Does adapt to it.
So this match is nowhere near over. Gamer
Oh, no.
Olive is only a minute and 14 seconds behind, which we've seen
Wow.
multiple times in this race that one level can prove to be a difference. So again, we said this after Spaceport, this race is nowhere near over, and it's definitely the case here after this DSC where we saw BENNYMOON lose nearly a minute to other competitors despite being the only one to go for and successfully hit trash skip.
Yeah.
A clean room 3 out of bounds from Benny is just what he needs. It's been a solid rebel attack despite the little bit of a high heart rate moment on those torpedoes earlier in the level, but assuming all goes well in the last room, could potentially enter episode 6 in the lead. What a massive turn of events here in this race.
Yeah, and the fun doesn't stop here, you know. We're going into episode 6, and
Gamer Olive has blanked 4
Oh,
times
no.
on the target.
Oh,
and
no.
Oh my god,
Oh,
I can't.
no.
That just was insane.
yeah,
4 blanks. Holy cow! Sorry for the interruption. Continue.
no, that is cosmically unlucky, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, but as I was saying, you know, episode 4 may have been pretty chaotic in that, as you saw in this race, but I would say episode 6 has even more potential to have wacky time.
No
off.
Chroma!
Oh no!
Chroma was out of bounds.
Appleman is ahead. Appleman is ahead.
Yeah, this is.
Chroma was
the
out of
Appleman
bounds
was-
and hit the room 2 transition out of bounds.
Oh no!
What in the world? And Appleman missed room 3 out of bounds as well.
Yeah, perhaps I was a bit premature talking about episode 6. After all, episode
The
4 is
episode
not
4's not
yet
even
over. Not yet over. Perhaps I was jumping the gun there.
Alright, so
Gamer
BENNYMOON
Olive
is
is blanked
definitely...
again.
Again.
How many blanks in this level is that for Gamer Olive? That's at least 6. Oh my gosh. I mean, that is ridiculously unlucky.
So BENNYMOON will take the lead despite all of the nuances that have happened in this episode 4 as he heads into episode 6. But Chroma and Appleman are nearly synced up together, and Gamer Olive is not too far behind as he just entered the mid-show. So both him, Chroma, and Appleman are within striking distance. And suddenly, this race that we thought was over after Pod Race, turning out to be quite the entertaining one. How
And
about
Jared,
that?
everyone, I think for the first time since Pod Race, is in the same load at the same time. Everyone is in the same room. Well, BENNYMOON has just exited, obviously. But, I mean, that's absolutely crazy that it took us this long to finally get back to a race where 4 people can win.
Again,
Yeah, I mean-
we've said this multiple times before. I mean, but we cannot understate this enough. Only 1 runner will advance into the play-in finals. So 3 out of the 4 runners laterally will be done after 1 match. And so every second matters, especially when now the gaps have been tightened a little bit. For those who have just tuned in, Gamer Olive missed pod fraud. He did the entirety of lap 2 backwards. So that lost him nearly 3 minutes. But since then, BENNYMOON, who built up nearly a minute and a half of a lead heading into episode 4, lost a minute on Spaceport and a minute on DSC, and suddenly Chroma and Appleman are right on his back seat. So, and as that has been happening, Gamer Olive has been making up time and slowly closing the gap. So this race again that we thought was over is suddenly right back into its anyone's game as we head into episode 6.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to ask you two, do you know what the strategies these runners are going to use on Disco? Have they all adopted the modern Disco setup, or will we perhaps see some shenanigans there as well?
I'm not sure.
I think they will all do Pixel Disco, I believe. I'm trying to, maybe Appleman will not, but I'd be pretty confident in the other 3 doing it. And I mean, you have to imagine, even if they do Pixel Disco, that is a massive pivotal point in this race, because
Absolutely.
every miss is 10 seconds lost.
So all 4 runners have exited episode 4. BENNYMOON still in the lead, a 1:17.57 exit out of episode 4. Chroma in second with a 1:18.14. And what do you know? Gamer Olive has jumped Appleman into third with a 1:19.20, and Appleman just 7 seconds behind Gamer Olive with a 1:19.27. So, gotta give credit where credit's due. Gamer Olive has played well since that mistake in pod race, and staying focused and doing a good job of staying in this race. But again, only first place matters. And Benny, with around a 17-second lead over Chroma in second.
Fortunately, this is a fairly uneventful section of the run. Mainly until we get to Spiderless.
Might as well let the gameplay do the talking for a little bit. Let the Jabba's ambient sounds take us through this level.
So obviously Droidovoid is the next major trick to come up.
Stole the words right out of my mouth, Zach. The Droidovoid and then Spiderless, a big potential chance for Chroma to catch up if BENNYMOON folds a little bit, but again, Benny has had a really aggressive attitude so far in this run. I'm willing to bet we will see double skips here from Benny. We'll see how it goes. Struggling a little bit to get out of bounds, but eventually does. That's one of the benefits of having fast force, is that that little object can be forced so much more quicker than without it. For all of my super story runners, you will understand.
One thing I think is really interesting here is, now I don't know if you remember P53, but BENNYMOON did not get Tractor Beam. So yes, he is in the lead, but I'm sure you know that not having Tractor Beam is going to inevitably lose some time in 6-6 Room 1.
Yeah. For those that are not aware, in 6-6 Room 1, you basically have to wait for TIE fighters to spawn to get you enough torpedoes to kill off all the ships. And what Tractor Beam lets you do, and basically the idea in that room is you want to kill the TIE fighters as fast as possible, because only after you've killed the current TIE fighters on screen can you get more torpedo spawns, potentially. And Tractor Beam really aids with that. And for BENNYMOON here, it's going to be down to chance. If he gets lucky, he might not lose that much time at all. But if he gets unlucky, it can get pretty bad. Luckily, though, Benny is not making many mistakes at all in this start of episode 6 here. Does end up getting Spiderless, and earlier he did struggle a little bit on Droidovoid, but was able to get it. So far, maintaining, I guess, his current lead.
Rancor taking a little bit of a detour.
Disagree with me.
Yeah.
Was it Chroma that didn't go for Tractor Beam?
Does
I thought it was Benny.
No, okay, Appleman nearly just soft locked.
Yeah, that was
so
really
close.
yes. Oh god.
Which, if I were the viewer, I would start to make your attention towards Appleman's stream, because we are going to start to see that mobile experience really come and benefit Appleman here. He's going to be going for one player Droidovoid and one player Spiderless. We'll see if Appleman can show us what he is made of, and there's a routine one player Droidovoid, and again, we'll be doing one player Spiderless, as well as him and Gamer Olive are almost synced up exactly, with Gamer Olive going for the full 2-player strat. But one player Spiderless is really a spectacle to be held. Zach,
Yeah.
I know you saw it last summer.
I mean, it's hard to really explain to someone who hasn't tried it how difficult this is. Like, you are just completely winging one of the most precise tricks in the entire game. It is so ridiculously tough. I mean, how?
Let's go.
How?
Yeah,
I mean,
there-
that's just unbelievable.
Here's the thing, that's what Appleman knows how to do. Like, on mobile, because you don't have 2 players, a lot of these 1P2C tricks, on mobile you have to find some alternate version of it. And here, you know, Appleman showing that he does know what he knows. You know, it might not be the same as all the other runners, but he can nail the tricks when he needs to.
That could be good to potentially bring back the gap on Gamer Olive, who struggled to get Spiderless. And taking a little bit of his time to make sure he hits the grate, which they do. So BENNYMOON now heading into Pit of Carcoon. Again, as Zach mentioned, the strat to watch out for in this level is 100% disco skip, which is a little bit in a better spot as it was last summer. We saw a lot of ladder league matches last summer be heavily influenced by the infamous disco skip, but since then, a new setup has, I would say, made the trick better. Each of these runners know it and are good at it. We don't know quite yet, so that'll be interesting to see if it can potentially play a factor, as BENNYMOON opting to pull the levers. It's interesting.
I
Instead
can
of go for
see
the
why
jump.
Chroma is so far behind RTA. That was one of the slowest Carcoon
Was-
loads. That's probably the slowest one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah,
why we switched to loadless.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It is unfortunate because for the viewer, it might be hard, between Chroma and Benny to just see who's ahead because of that load difference. Actually, Jared, do you know from the run what the load difference is actually between Chroma and Benny?
I mean, you would have to be. So from the naked eye, it looks like there's about, I'd say, like a little over a minute RTA. And then the loads, it looks like from Chroma to BENNYMOON is around, I'd say, 40 seconds in Chroma's favor already. Or excuse me, in Benny's favor.
Yeah. So yeah, even though there's a gap, it is not as big as you might expect, given the visual time difference here. Next, we're gonna see topless from BENNYMOON here. A bit of a tricky jump. Missing it there the first try. It's a bit of a weird jump where you have to rub against this wall here to set yourself up for making the jump. Does get a second try though. I know we did talk about disco being the primary time loss in this level, but I mean all over this place in this level, there's just plenty of places to lose time. So not just disco.
Here we go.
Episode
Benny
6.
is. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, episode 6, so far, actually managing to be less chaotic, I'd argue, than episode 4. So we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. I mean, that's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, the forcing the what is it, the DJ yes thing
I
there.
thought
You
we were
don't need
about
to
to
do
see
that for this
a.
strat.
There you go.
Oh
First
my
try
God.
disco.
Not pixel setup, but does get the original setup there. So
That was an extremely risky line that time by Benny, but he flew through that.
yeah,
That's a very much needed first try disco skip from Benny. And what do we have
Chroma
here
Q.
from Chroma?
Yeah, opting not to go for topless, going for this older strat where you use this box to jump up. So he is going to be using the lever to do the middle platform there.
I'd suggest looking at Appleman's screen. We know what he did last year.
Yeah, let's see if he will do that again this year.
No, he is going to go for topless. Okay, so that is good. I mean, we are going to see a potential time save here for him on the other two runners. You know,
Gets
of course,
shot though, unfortunately.
Gamer Olive yet to be seen whether he will be doing topless.
I mean, Appleman is having trouble with this jump right here. Gamer Olive also not electing to go with topless. So yeah, though Appleman had the chance to make up some time there, ultimately I think Chroma just, was playing a safer strat and ended up executing it much better. So not going to be able to get that time save that you wanted from Appleman, which is quite a tragedy. But here comes Disco for Chroma Q. As we saw, Benny got it first try, so that's going to put the pressure on these runners here. Also electing not to do the pixel setup. We'll see if this pays off. Not good so far. And we're going to have two people on Disco. We're going to see who wins the race first here. We might have three if Gamer Olive gets to that room quickly.
That's 2 misses for Appleman and second try for Chroma.
This is a really old setup that APPLEMAN is going for. He's not even... I think he's just winging the setup completely. This is an old Justin strat that...
Gamer Olive also just struggling to get the jump into the room there, backflipping up. Finally does get it there, but losing quite a bit of time. We're gonna have to hope, I guess, that however, here's the thing: if Gamer Olive gets Disco, then they'll still be ahead of Apple. And you see, Gamer Olive is doing the new Pixel setup, so we'll see if that pays off for him. Doesn't get it the first try, but luckily for him, Apple is still trying to.
Is he completely giving up? What's going on here?
Yeah, I'm
He's
not
attempting
sure
Pixel Disco himself now, and would you believe the only person to get first try Disco was the guy that forced the speaker at the start of the room for some reason,
Yeah.
or the Disco
Honestly,
ball.
I think that warrants an investigation.
It really does. Maybe a camera manipulation tactic. And I mean, Apple must be on 10th try at this point. This is just...
This is a
disaster.
classic laterally Disco disaster. Oh no. This, if he keeps missing this for longer, this might be game over for Apple. Finally gets it.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess we were all wrong. Zach, you said that you expected quite a lot of them to be doing the new setup there, but
Well, 2 of them did it.
I guess, though Apple didn't start with it. So.
Yes, but he did succeed with it. But I mean, wow, I mean, that must have widened the gap so much at this point.
Yeah. A devastating loss for the Australian players here. Seems like they can't really catch a break in this match so far.
Say what you will, but the Oceanic region must produce the most entertaining of TCS runners.
Oh yeah.
Unquestionably.
Shout out to Zoda. The only... Well, I don't know if he's the only, but he's been really lighting up the leaderboards lately with his blindfolded TCS gameplay, which, in my unbiased opinion, is probably the most impressive TCS gameplay I think I've ever seen. It's ridiculous.
And we'll get a chance to see him with his eyes open later this week.
Well, his eyes are still open. He just puts them behind a hoodie.
That is correct.
No, but yeah, it's nothing short of impossible what Zoda is able to do blindfolded. So he was a runner in the tournament last year. I believe he was eliminated in the second week, if I'm not mistaken.
Definitely not. There's no way, because he lost with a 235.
Here, let me double check the sheet from last year.
I would say we're ignoring Speeder Showdown entirely, but to be honest, there's not much to say.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask me, I'd say that's the treatment this level deserves fully.
I mean, there is opportunities for time loss. Chroma Q did miss a couple of flips there on that speeder skip, but I mean, for the most part, like it's not like Carcoon where you can just have massive minute disasters.
So Zoda was eliminated in week number 3, rung 6.
He'll be hoping to make a deeper run than that this time. I know he's been practicing a lot, but let's turn our attention back to the racers on our screen before we talk about, you know, one located in Auckland. It's very, very interesting to see how big the gap is now, RTA, but I don't know how big it is loadless. Obviously, BENNYMOON is in the lead, but it's hard to say by how much.
Yeah,
So
I think Jared
BENNYMOON
said
is
earlier.
the only. Yeah, Benny's the only person who has actually split after Speeder, but the difference in Carcoon was about 1 minute and 16 seconds from BENNYMOON to Chroma, and then from Gamer Olive to Apple, the gap is almost at 1.5 minutes. So that Carcoon disco skip disaster by APPLEMAN more than likely cost him his race, unfortunately.
Now, you might say that, but That's what I thought about Gamer Olive's pod race disaster, so who knows?
Fair point.
Now, this issue BENNYMOON is having is that's creative, but yeah, I don't think that works. They can be very hard to target that little thing on the floor. You do have to jump and shoot to target it.
Yeah.
Just this can add up. I mean, you know, we don't necessarily know how far in the lead BENNYMOON is just because the other runners aren't RTA caught up to him, but you know, especially in Endor, bleeding time can add up to like 30 seconds if things go wrong. And he's going to miss ghost hearts. I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And he takes a death.
Yeah. I mean, ghost hearts, it may not look that bad right now, but definitely in the bunker where there's a lot of close quarters shooting, like it is so easy to take a death there without ghost hearts if you're not careful.
Jared, maybe
for
you
a
can
sec-
talk
Yeah,
us
go ahead.
through why ghost hearts are so important in this level.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
so
mainly, or
yeah, go ahead, Jared.
you want a P53 or
Either one of you, yeah.
Yeah,
go
I
ahead,
guess
P53. Why not?
Sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, Ghost Hearts, you know, gives you invincibility. So if you could stand right next to Explosion with Ghost Hearts and it won't kill you. Oh my God! Actually, let's focus on BENNYMOON here with 12 button skip first. Actually, this will.
Wow,
does
okay, that
get
was
it.
actually
First
quite
try.
good, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
second try, but
Okay, second try.
Which
he had
I
a
mean,
couple first gate skip misses, but overall that was pretty good.
yeah, and I mean, it's likely I would say that some of these runners don't even attempt it also. So, like, that could just be like time save just for that BENNYMOON. Well, but we'll see. But anyway, yeah, in the bunker that BENNYMOON's coming up on here, if you don't have ghost hearts, you don't have invincibility. So in the bunker, there's a lot of troopers that like walk very close to you. So if you just get caught in an explosion, you just die and instantly lose time. So
Yeah, it's most beneficial in the bunker, I would say, but it definitely has its benefits in other places, especially with 12 button skip. Now that you go for the great skip, that can sometimes get in your way with player one. But having ghost heart, it's so easy to obtain in this level, and it doesn't lose any time, and it's very beneficial throughout the rest of the level. It takes a lot of skill to not lose time without it.
So it does draw into question, are any of the other runners even going to be attempting that skip? I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, and maybe they're, you know, if they're looking at the pace, seeing their deficit to BENNYMOON, maybe they'll feel inclined to go for it. So we'll have to see, but it doesn't look like Chroma's going to do it, which would definitely line up with the way his gameplay has been shaping up, I would say, recently.
yeah. And Zach, did we confirm that whether BENNYMOON actually had Tractor Beam?
Well, one of them didn't go for it, but I'm not entirely sure who it was.
Okay, well, whoever didn't go for it, I guess, might be in for some fun in ITDF. But I guess let's see there. Anyway, BENNYMOON does get that first camera pan skip off though, but you just see him taking deaths like everywhere here. I think I've already seen like at least 3.
Looks like Gamer Olive is not going to go for it as well. So again, this might be the only, or another scenario where BENNYMOON is the only person to go for an aggressive strat here. It could end up benefiting him. He got it pretty quickly, and 12 button skip is a very, very, very big skip. Discovered around this time last year. I don't think it was really a big factor until the bracket play.
And
Bit of a weird. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, real quick, I can guarantee you APPLEMAN will not be doing this because he just said in chat that he has never seen it before.
Wow.
So, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, like, overall, you know, getting 12 button skip from BENNYMOON, definitely gonna be a nice time save for him. But I will say this bunker from BENNYMOON, there were, you know, there are some weird mishaps in it. So, I mean, if they can't get the time save from 12 button skips, all 3 of these runners are definitely looking to make up at least some time in the bunker, and they probably will need it.
And because there's no 12 button skip, this is another big period of quote-unquote downtime where there's not really any tricks, not really any massive points of pivotal change in terms of the lead changing hands here before we get into BENNYMOON's Jedi Destiny.
I'm actually curious, do you know the predictions, how many people favored BENNYMOON?
I cannot tell you that, but I know Anonymous is in chat, and maybe he'll be able to let us know.
I can check for us as well. The amount of people that predicted BENNYMOON to win first play-in was 8 people, so about 20.
8 out of 51.
15.7% predicted BENNYMOON, and I'm gonna try and see if I can get a potential list of those people.
You look at the chat prediction. Benny also had 15%.
Oh,
That's very interesting.
We're on the money right there.
Everyone may have doubled down then.
So Deadshra predicted BENNYMOON to win. Core also predicted BENNYMOON to win. Roadhouse, shout out to Evan, also predicted BENNYMOON.
Bit of a weird destiny here, though, from BENNYMOON. Let's see. Very slow and deliberate, but does end up getting it.
Get in the hole. Lunar Jump predicted Benny. Saber predicted Benny.
Who?
Lunar, or I said Lunar Jump. Oops. Oops. I don't think Lunar Jump is necessarily following along with.
I wish. I mean, yeah.
I mean, who knows? Lunar Jump might be BENNYMOON's biggest supporter. You never know.
That's right. He does look like that emote that this guy in chat has been spamming.
Anorak also picked BENNYMOON. Let's see if there's anyone else. Bricko predicted Benny. So Gus picked Benny. So we got some known ball knowers in chat who picked BENNYMOON for the upset. But yeah, majority picked Gamer Olive. Out of 51 people who filled out the prediction forms for this week, we had 57% vote for Gamer Olive. So early hit.
I'm curious though, Zach. What would have our live odds algorithm said about this situation? Do you think it could have predicted such?
Now, I'm kind of glad we didn't have that feature for this race, because that would have been potentially the most poor representation of the feature. I think it probably would have given Gamer Olive something like a 2% chance of winning after pod race or something like that.
That
is. You can't tell we're very big fans of the odds.
Yeah, that does look like tractor beam on BENNYMOON. So BENNYMOON did get tractor beam, so I guess someone else didn't get it.
I think it's Chroma that didn't get it, or maybe they got it and kept EVD on. I don't know.
Rare left side ultra kill from Chroma, and this might be a little tough.
Oh no!
I think this might be the moment Gamer Olive has been waiting for. Basically,
also
neck and
left
neck
side,
at this point.
yeah, another left side ultra kill here coming from Gamer Olive.
Bit strange there. Let's see if Gamer Olive will be able to recover this.
Oh my god! Chroma missed it again. And Gamer Olive potentially may be ahead of Chroma and in second place now.
Yeah, that was good movement there from Gamer Olive, knowing that I guess that Palpatine could have went around there and correctly reacting to it. So
he is still giving Chroma problems here, now opting for right side.
Oh no, but it looks like...
Oh my goodness, well, he gave up on it!
Oh my gosh. And this is a racer who was in the lead, I think, in the last episode.
Yeah.
Just like that, one level proves to be the difference, and he's gonna again have to attempt it. This is now the 5th try that Chroma has had on Ultra Kill. And as we're saying that, BENNYMOON is cruising along. He's already inside the core in 6-6.
I mean, I think it was said best, like, this is what Gamer Olive was waiting for. If Gamer Olive wanted a chance to win this match, it needs to be a 1v1. It cannot be a 1v3, and this is exactly what Gamer Olive needs. Chroma is still struggling, and I mean, we're at the point where APPLEMAN may be ahead of Chroma at the end of this.
Yeah.
APPLEMAN pushing the Emperor in, and just like that, he moves ahead of Chroma RTA and finally puts the Emperor into his destiny down the shaft. But a huge time loss from Chroma on Ultra Kill. And what is Benny doing here? Getting another torpedo, looks like on player 2. But that's going to be a huge, effect on the times. We'll see exactly how much. Gamer Olive is now comfortably in 2nd on Benny. Looks like the difference between him and Gamer Olive is around 1 minute and 50 seconds. So Benny is comfortably in the lead now. Gamer Olive has moved into 2nd place. Apple and Chroma are still separated by around 30 seconds in favor of Chroma. So the RTA difference, or the load difference, again, Chroma has very bad loads. So he might be in last place on your screen, but in the load remove times, he is still a little bit ahead of APPLEMAN. But a huge momentum killer for Chroma that kind of spoiled any chance that he had potentially of coming back in this one.
Now, I wouldn't say that, because you know what happens whenever we say that.
Fair enough.
I mean, yeah, like, if you just... This has kind of just been the story of this race, right? It's been BENNYMOON, reeling them back in, making them think that they had a chance, and then cruising ahead again by over a minute, just with his aggressive strats, his, really aggressive plays, and hitting these super technical, super execution heavy skips that for someone who has so little experience in the game, it's just so impressive.
Yeah, out of these runners, Apple technically has the most experience out of all of them. He submitted his first PC run relatively recently, but we mentioned earlier how he is a 9-time mobile world record holder, and he actually obtained his very first mobile record way back in 2018, in January of 2018. So before Justin, before Senor, before all of them made their mark on the community, APPLEMAN was getting mobile world records. So he is an OG in the LEGO Star Wars speedrunning community. And Chroma and BENNYMOON are very recent community members, as Gamer Olive with a couple blanks, he needs this one to hit, or else he's gonna have to go all the way back, and gets it to go.
Yeah, and at this point, it's really become BENNYMOON versus Gamer Olive, which is something that, maybe I thought I'd never be saying, when we were back in Pod Race, but that's really the runner with the highest chance of taking the lead out of BENNYMOON's hands.
BENNYMOON with a 1:49.29 episode 6 exit, which, as it currently stands, he's currently 1 minute and 47 seconds ahead of his PB. And on the other hand, Gamer Olive, despite all that has happened, is 1 second ahead of his PB. So somehow, after a pod fraud miss in episode 1, they have built their way all the way back and are 1 second ahead of their PB, according to the run.gg. It's not official, but we're going to let the gameplay kind of do its talking here in Coruscant, as Apple Gamer and Chroma finish up episode 6, and BENNYMOON heads in to episode 3.
So yeah, I guess Jared, I guess since as you said, you know, the two big competitors right now are BENNYMOON and Gamer Olive, I guess. In your assessment, what does Gamer Olive really need to do in order to catch up to BENNYMOON, I guess?
Limit
What
the
are the big
mistakes.
opportunities?
I feel like that's just keep continuing to gain time. I mean, he's played relatively clean since that pod fraud mistake and has capitalized on the mistakes that BENNYMOON has made. And BENNYMOON his mistakes have been big ones. He's lost a minute on Spaceport, a minute on DSE, a minute, or actually I wouldn't really say a minute in episode 6, but those are the big ones really. And so if Gamer Olive can keep limiting the mistakes, no matter what strats they go for, I think that's going to be the strategy here as we head into episode 3 and 5.
A bit of a lull in gameplay here as we either have people on cutscenes or auto scrollers, I guess. But coming up next is Chancellor in Peril. Definitely a very execution heavy level where, you know, depending on how it goes, you know, people can gain or lose quite a bit of time there. I don't know, Jared, do you know what sort of strat all these runners are going to be doing in Chancellor?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think we can take a quick look at their sum of best and kind of make assumptions. BENNYMOON's gold on Chancellor is a 444. So I think we can assume that he doesn't necessarily go for a lot of things in that level. Looks like Gamer Olive's gold is a 439, so not too much better. And then Chroma's gold is a 430 or 506. So just from looking off that, I think we're going to be seeing some pretty safe Chancellors.
I mean, even after Chancellor, though, we still have Grievous, which I'm not sure. I don't know, Jared. I feel with Grievous, like, sometimes, you know, I guess the lower seed runners sometimes have better Grievuses than even some of the top runners. You know, do you know if any of these runners are known to get particularly good Grievuses?
Doesn't look like it, no. Just from
Okay.
just from having the data from their sum of best, we have a 125, a 133, and a 115. So BENNYMOON actually has the best Grievous gold out of all of these players, but I don't think we're gonna see particularly great Grievuses either.
Yeah, and Grievous, you know, is definitely another one of those places where you can just lose quite a bit of time if you get very, very unlucky or depending on your setup. So it'll be interesting to see whether any of the other runners are going to be able to catch up to Benny through these next 2 levels.
So yeah, we got all 4 runners here in Grievous.
Yeah, Coruscant.
Or excuse me. Gameplay, man.
Yeah, I will say, BENNYMOON once again showing that he's doing more of the advanced strats, doing the 1P2C there. Even though I did say this is an auto-scroller, you can do strats that save time here. And you see on BENNYMOON's screen with the 1P2C, he will be able to save a bit of time compared to both Gamer Olive and APPLEMAN, who are doing the 1-player strat for this level.
Alright, quick extras menu turn on from BENNYMOON. No frame perfect skips here. This is the play-ins, not rung 1.
Yeah. Though, to be honest, in rung 1, I wouldn't even say that we might get that skip, you know.
Well, I'll definitely say you'll be getting it from me.
Oh, well. I will hold you personally accountable for that prediction, Jared.
There you go.
Bit of trouble getting up here, but I mean, oh, missing it again there. Yeah, and I mean, in this room, you know, all you need to do is just make sure not to get killed, which he did a couple times there, but right now he just does have a lot of time to burn. And we'll see how he handles these Droidicas there. He does have EBB there, letting him kill the Droidicas really quickly. Not a bad, I guess, room here so far.
As long as he can cruise through this level without any major mistakes, I think that is exactly what BENNYMOON will want. I'm not sure we're going to see any of the major skips as we finish through this level. Definitely no MVE here from Benny, and I don't think we're going to see CSJ, just judging from his gold as well.
Yeah. I guess I will say, since a bunch of people are doing one player Coruscant, I will see if any one of them go for the death strat. Because if you are doing one player, it is faster to take a death near the end, because the game just speeds you up once you take a death, figuring that you've played that section already. So we'll see if any of them do it here. Gamer Olive taking a death there. And yeah, like
Wait a
you said,
minute.
Jared.
BENNYMOON
minute.
is going for CSJ.
Oh,
I mean, does that surprise you with the strat selection he's shown? I think it's definitely the most likely candidate in this race to do it.
though you said, what was his gold? You said, Jared, it was like a...
Gold is a 444.
All right, well,
Oh.
this is just not gonna work.
Wait.
Okay, maybe it'll work now. I don't know how it's been taking this long to. Is he?
Oh, no, he needs to
Oh.
reset his... He needs to... I
Oh
don't
no,
think
did
he
he
knows.
get super jump storage?
I don't think he
Um,
knows.
He
I don't
might
think-
jump eventually, though.
Well,
Okay,
no,
there's not
because
gonna
if
risk
you-
it.
If you get super jump storage,
But I feel like he made the
you
same
can't
mistake
start
again.
the super jump.
Yeah, he definitely got it, because he's going to touch him and he's going to get the storage. Watch.
I think he did the same thing again.
Yeah, so I guess to
How is this
the
possible? You should be jumping.
So his respawn point is not getting set
yeah
far enough away from. He's not far enough away from the wall to set it.
yeah you do need to be a little bit further from the wall there.
Yeah, so this will work now.
BENNYMOON might have was listening on the commentary there, perhaps just doing it there.
And
There
then
you go. There's
saw
the
the
super jump
storage.
storage. Yep.
Yeah, there it is. But yeah,
That's
if
so
you
unlucky.
don't set a proper save point for the super jump will not start. So no matter how long you push him, he's not gonna do the super jump unless you set the save point correctly. But finally getting it there, a big time loss from BENNYMOON there. So we'll see if any one of them can make that time up. Definitely the thing that Gamer Olive is looking for to potentially take back this match.
So as it stands right now, as all four runners are into the same level here, as it stands, the gap right now between between BENNYMOON and Gamer Olive is around 2 minutes. Benny with a 154.09 and Gamer Olive with a 156.09. So Benny is still comfortably in the lead, but as you mentioned, Gamer Olive needs all the time that they can get, and that unlucky mistake from Benny on CSJ might prove to be a spot there for Gamer Olive to make some time up.
And the next level could potentially be a big turning point in this race as well. I'll admit, I have no idea what to expect with any of these four runners on Grievous. So, could go poorly, could go great.
All right, Gamer Olive is going for the Chancellor super jump. Let's see. Oh, a little bit of a struggle getting in place, but if he gets this, this will be a massive time save.
Oh my gosh.
I think they got the
he did
exact
the
same
same thing.
No.
Oh my god.
Oh. I
It's
guess
the exact same problem.
I
Now,
guess
if
this
they were
isn't
listening
very
to the
well
stream, they just did the same thing again.
known. Oh no!
Look, it's just that's the exact same mistake BENNYMOON made again.
Oh no, APPLEMAN is doing it too. Hopefully he doesn't make the same mistake. No,
Apple
he's
will
already
not
far
have,
enough.
Yeah. Apple's
already
not
far
gonna have
enough.
this issue.
Oh my god, this is.
Okay, but
That should be fine.
I mean, you'll jump, yeah. But oh no, he did it again. Now, did AppleMan just? What is going on? I think he just used R2's zapper out of bounds. Oh,
Yeah,
this
he-
is as the kids say, cooked.
Oh no.
That
Yeah.
was cooked.
Oh, no.
And
And
Chroma Q is going to somehow end up being in second place again by playing the fight casually.
I mean, this was the opportunity they needed, and it has just not materialized here. A tragedy for everyone that went for this strat, I guess. And to be honest, I think not too much of a change other than Chroma Q basically getting ahead again, I guess.
I mean, shades of DSE and Princess there with what we just witnessed from all
Yeah.
Forerunners.
Yeah. Now, here's another pivotal level from BENNYMOON. We're gonna see how lucky he gets on Grievous. 2 hearts there, not the best. That's a
pretty good.
solid. Yeah, that's what you want.
Okay, all right. We're looking good for BENNYMOON here. Very unlikely to not get a hit at all. I shouldn't even have started saying that because
No.
I kind of figured that's what was going to happen, but
Yeah. I mean,
Alright.
as we know, you are a Gamer Olive supporter, so at this point, I guess you're trying to take anything you can get after that disastrous Chancellor from all 3.
I am.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, the super jump storage thing, probably not that well known to probably most of the people around, but yeah, you gotta make sure to set the right spawn point for super jump storage, for super jumps.
I mean, it's a good time if you want to explain how that works right now, I suppose. I mean, I know it's not the most complicated, but
Yeah, I mean, so with the super jump, the whole idea of the super jump is that it's a mechanism where if the game thinks that a player is stuck, it'll try to get them unstuck by moving them to the last position they thought was like a safe position to move them to. And the problem is, usually with the game doesn't mark the areas next to walls as like a safe position. Usually you have to be a little bit further away from the wall to set that safe position. So there, the game did think that R2 was stuck, but because they hadn't moved far enough away from the wall there, they weren't able to set that safe position. So the game just didn't know where to jump them to. So it just kept them stuck there. So tragic time loss from, I guess, everyone except Chroma Q on
Yeah.
Chancellor. But, yeah, and with BENNYMOON having like a relatively good Grievous, Gamer Olive's chances, I guess, of potentially taking this race back are rapidly diminishing.
So at one point, we had all 4 runners in Chancellor, and in a blink of an eye, we now have BENNYMOON and Kashyyyk, Chroma just exiting the Chancellor Metro, and then APPLEMAN and Gamer Olive in completely different spots in Grievous. The story of this race has been one level can change everything.
Speaking of 1, APPLEMAN gets a 1 cycle to start it off, followed by a 3, which is not bad.
Similar
but
to
this-
Benny, I think, yeah.
Yeah, this should be. Yeah, so this is all right for Apple at the moment. 1 more could do it, and it does.
Yeah. The one thing you don't want to do here, other than get terrible cycles, is to reset the fight.
I feel like that's a crazy thing to say as they're about to start doing this.
Yeah,
What
What is going on
happening
there?
on
The
the
it was to
screen?
cue the resolution. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we were going to see a 75 hertz. Hey, I mean, that's exactly how you cue the fight, is by dying while shooting him right there. That was certainly a close one. I mean, it wouldn't matter on the first set of shots, but
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
I mean, the cycles are good for Chroma.
Yeah. Just a bit of a menu mishap, and for this last one, you can just hit him. But I guess I can't commentators curse anyone. I just said what could have happened and it didn't happen.
Right.
I mean, we've completely ignored BENNYMOON's Kashyyyk, I guess, but I mean, so far, he hasn't showed any signs, I guess, other than that Chancellor mishap of that he wants to, fall behind in this race at all. I do wonder, actually, of all the players here, I'd say, which player do you think has the strongest endgame, I guess?
Well, I can tell you. How do I put this? I have seen, for the most part, Gamer Olive has tended to struggle at the end of the run in all of his recent PBs. So, I can't necessarily say how that relates to BENNYMOON's gameplay, who is obviously in the lead. But I would say, if you're going to count on anyone to make a comeback, I'm definitely looking at Chroma right now more than anything.
It looks like their sobs are basically identical in episode 5. I don't know the exact math, but it's really close.
I mean, I think so far in this race, it's not like BENNYMOON hasn't made any mistakes. It's just that everyone else has also made those mistakes. Like, it just seems that for any mistake that Benny makes, like, a disaster happens for everyone else almost at the same time. You know, so far it hasn't really given them much of an opportunity to really catch up at all.
But I mean, all 4 of these runners should be going without saying. They have speedrun experience in the past. If you look at APPLEMAN, he's got experience with obviously mobile, but he's also ran multitude of other Lego games. He's ran lots of 3.0 games. In fact, I believe he was a former world record holder in Lego DC Supervillains. He's played Incredibles 5 through 7. He's experienced there. Chroma has also done some Lego speedruns in the past. They've done LIJ 1 and 1 through 4. Chroma has speedran a Legend of Zelda game before. I believe it is Wind Waker. I think he said he was currently 17th on the any percent restricted category. So all of these runners have speedrun experience before, and they know the nerves that come from an end of a run, especially with the pressure of this match. So I still think anything can happen. We've seen it happen in the ladder league before, where the runs come down to the very last split. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see.
Gamer Olive having a lot of trouble getting up with Yoda there, and APPLEMAN, I think Gamer Olive losing quite a bit of time to Apple there.
I would say anything can happen is a pretty strong message for the room that BENNYMOON is in. I would know.
Yeah,
And
Zach,
we hope that doesn't happen.
I mean, I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. Perhaps that would not be wise for me to say that.
Yeah.
You could
I'm
guess
sure you were
what I
gonna
was
say
about to say.
how it's not been, it's been figured out and solved, and that no one has any issues with it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, has there been like the last time we said something was solved? Somebody missed Dooku skip. So.
Yeah.
Well, it seems as if BENNYMOON has solved library skip because they just got it first try.
Perhaps needs to try forcing the wheel at the end of the last room as well. Takes a full death.
Saved time to world record there.
That is true. But you can see this gap mounting. I mean, no one is even anywhere near library skip right now.
I mean, to be honest, I think Benny's like just strongly in the lead at this point. Like, it would take, I think, a pretty big episode 5 disaster for this to change, I think.
And when has that happened?
Well,
In the past.
I mean, but like the scope of the disaster would have to be like, I think, pretty big. Like, not just like, I think even like a bad CCT would necessarily save it for all the other runners, but you never know.
It's definitely not over till it's over. Jared, do you know
Yeah.
what these runs are pacing, actually? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I can kind of give you guys an idea once we close out episode 3. But just know that we have 2 of the 4 runners are in the green.
What? Sorry.
Well,
That
here's
is
the
very
question.
surprising for me to hear.
Actually, you gotta play a game, Zach. Which 2 runners are in the green? You can probably guess.
I actually have no idea. I would guess BENNYMOON because he's winning, and maybe Chroma Q just because I think he has the slowest PB out of everyone.
Good guess, Zach.
Thank you, thank you.
BENNYMOON is currently 15 seconds ahead of his PB, and Chroma Q is 1 minute and 37 seconds ahead of his PB, but he is comparing to almost all golds in episode 3.
That'll be a tough one. Oh my... BENNYMOON almost pushed his other player off the edge and killed him while forcing that.
But he didn't, so it's okay.
But he didn't. And just a reminder, Chroma Q is at a massive RTA disadvantage compared to his LRT deficit. So it's actually a little bit closer than it looks between the bottom 3, but BENNYMOON definitely has a strong advantage right now.
Yeah.
Chroma Q struggling to get the... Are they not going for library skip? Okay, they are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they would be, like, taking all the time to kill these troopers, if not.
But just for a general audience perspective, we will eventually have the best possible times being displayed on the screen, but just with the 4-way race to begin the tournament, we did not have room to fit them on the layout. But just know that will eventually be displayed for you to see on the screen.
Yeah, this, I mean, for context, is the only 4-way race you will be seeing this year. So this will be the last time you see this layout.
Second try library skip from Chroma. Gamer Olive was able to get the cutscene skip. Or excuse me, the drop-in warp, not cutscene skip. And Gamer Olive and APPLEMAN are basically synced up now.
You can really see the difference in bloom here between the two of them.
Yeah, Gamer Olive, one of the last standing Bloom users.
Shout out to 2020 Wii Super.
And 2023 Senor. For some reason. So I guess we're almost at that point, Jared, where maybe you can give us a pace update. But before we get into that, the winner of this match will play Yehoodles and Nolan, I believe.
Correct.
In play-in round 2. And the winner of that match will take the 21st seed spot back down into an elimination match. So if BENNYMOON is able to close this out, if he wants to make it past week 1, he will have to win the next match and then win the match after that.
I mean, however, you don't have to get stuck in the bottom rung because there are some rule changes in this year's edition of the Ladder League, which Zach went into a little bit of detail in the video, but can you kind of re-explain for anybody who may have forgotten?
Well, there's 2 rule changes, and I guess now is as good as a time as any to talk about them. The first rule change we've sort of referred to as the leapfrog system, and it's not relevant in this race, so that's kind of why we haven't touched on it at all yet. But the leapfrog system rewards runners for getting a good time, and that's the most basic way to put it. But if you get a good enough time to surpass the person in the rung above you that got second place, then you will get to take their spot. So they would normally get promoted to the rung above, you get promoted to that rung, and they have to stay in the rung that they are currently in. The other change is the wild card system. Jared, maybe you could explain how that one works.
So the wild card system, it kind of, again, as you said, rewards getting a good time. So we saw last year how EJ, what is APPLEMAN doing? Oh, we went in episode 6. Oh my goodness. Brain fart moment that time from APPLEMAN, but he's able to recover before you head into Java. So thank goodness for that. But it basically will, instead of there being 8 weeks and the winners of every single rung won in each week taking the final spot, we decided to reward the player with the fastest time that did not qualify within the ladder and they will get the final 8th spot in the tournament. So last year that case would have been, I think it still would have been Hamster who got the 8th seed, but let's say that you lose in rung number 7 week in run 1 in week 7, and you get but you still get a 223 or 224, and that was the fastest time in the ladder that did not advance into the bracket play. You will advance and get that 8th spot.
And it just adds a little bit of stakes to all those early week matches, you know. When it feels like, okay, maybe some people will not qualify for top 8, but they're probably going to get it eventually. But it allows you to see these times that people maybe in lower rungs are putting down and actually have a reason to care about them. And so that was kind of our goal with that mechanic.
So now that 3 runners are in Hoth battle, Chroma, is Chroma okay?
Yeah, I think the stream did freeze there, but we'll check in on that, I guess. I'll probably refresh
Okay,
the
but
stream
3
a bit.
runners are in Hoth battle now. It should be a good time to check in on paces and best possible times. Benny is in the lead, very, very comfortable lead over Gamer Olive in second. He's now looking at around a minute and 25 seconds over Gamer Olive, so he's still made up time, Gamer Olive has, to Benny since the end of episode 3. And in terms of best possible times, Benny's best possible time is a 2:43.03, which is around 2 seconds faster than his personal best. And then Chroma, his best possible time is 2:44.21, Gamer Olive 2:42.39, and Appleman 2:44.02. And BENNYMOON and Chroma are still in the green. BENNYMOON is 16 seconds ahead of his PB, and Chroma is a minute 15 ahead of his PB.
Now, it depends on how you look at it, but some would say it would be a little heartbreaking for Chroma to get a massive PB and still lose. But it does just show the level that we're at here. I mean, you can't just expect to play well and win. You also need to bank on the runners who are, you know, have a better PB than you to sort of mess up along the way and to capitalize on that.
Not the best thoughts, I think, from everyone here. I think BENNYMOON did struggle a little bit on that first barrier skip. But, you know, so far there's nothing here that, I guess. Oh, actually, is Appleman doing the... Oh, for a second I thought Appleman was gonna do the wacky VSB strat there in Hoth, but didn't do it. That strat has a chance of soft locking if you do it, so probably the best that he did not go for it.
I don't know if the gap is quite big enough that it's worth pulling out
Yeah.
strats like that yet. But, you know, as we get further into this episode 5, that may start to lay down on his mind.
I mean, Zach, what levels do you think will decide this race? I guess there's been a big disaster every episode, it seems. So, what are your predictions for this episode?
Something tells me that something is going to happen in Bespin. You know, I've been seeing a lot of people have very, very bad Bespins recently, and it's always for a different reason. But you'd assume that if BENNYMOON doesn't go for GTF, then there isn't like anything crazy that can happen. So obviously, you know, it's more likely to happen in a level like Dagobah or CCT.
All right, so BENNYMOON is out of Hoth. 2:19.26 exit is still green, saved 10 seconds to his PB. So if you take a look at the PBs on the scheduling sheet, it's a little bit different because, like I said, 3 of the 4 runners have set a new personal best since the seating officially closed. Benny's new PB is a 2:45.29, which is nearly more than a 4-minute improvement from his initial seating time. And then Chroma's PB is now actually Chroma still has the same PB. It's 246.27. Gamers all his PBs are 242.50, which is an improvement of around 2.5 minutes, and Appleman's PB is a 244.28, which is a 4-minute improvement for him.
I think we expect BENNYMOON to go for boom skip here.
It would fit, I think, like with the kinds of tricks he's been doing already, but perhaps he might go for the even riskier instant transition skip, perhaps.
I don't think he will do that.
No.
He is going for boom skip though.
Hold.
A little high, but he does get it.
Wow, that was very low. Hold still. We're still holding.
I know the chat is really ready to get going here.
Boom!
Well, that's going to make it a lot harder for anyone to catch up. That is a big
Yeah.
skip.
Yeah. See what happens as Appleman coming up to the same section.
Tell you what, Benny has really done a really good job at nailing the tough tricks. It's been sometimes there's been some movement that has lost him some time, some bad RNG that has led to the big time losses that he's had in this run. But he is really, for his level, he has been nailing tough trick after tough trick. So it's been impressive for BENNYMOON.
I mean, it's really just Chancellor Super Jump, I feel, and the spaceport stuff, to be honest.
And DSC.
Oh, that is true. Oh yeah, though it was really just that end. For some reason, he just wasn't, I guess, jumping far enough. I guess, but I mean, in a race setting, it's at this level. I feel like even that, is definitely not a bad performance from BENNYMOON at all. I would say.
Definitely a way to make a statement and a name for yourself in your first ever tournament race.
Yeah, here's boom skip on gamer olive. Oh no, slightly off there.
Looks a little high on this one as well. That should be fine. Yeah, okay.
And you'll see the time difference there. Appleman did not end up going for it, but gamer olive nails it here. They'll be roughly, I guess, even with Apple. But here, with BENNYMOON finishing Echo Base, we now have. I know Jared was talking about RNG earlier. This is probably what's coming up. One of the biggest remaining RNG sections in the entire run. I guess Zach, do you have any comments about what we're going to be seeing here on
Well,
BENNYMOON's side?
I think it's safe to say that if BENNYMOON can surmount the challenge that the boulder provides without losing too much of his lead, then he's all but secured this spot into the next round of play-ins. And we don't want to look too far ahead towards that because anything can happen, but it's definitely his race to lose already. And if he can get past the most RNG heavy room in the entire run by a large margin, then you can only expect that he's probably going to close it out with how well he's been playing. I mean, he's literally ahead of his PB.
Yeah.
We have seen, I believe, one time a run completely end in this level. And that was back in BTR 2021.
Yeah, I don't think it's I don't think that's good. That specific thing is going to happen here.
I'm
But-
shocked that your memory reaches that far back, Zach.
I'm sure many people remember it.
But I mean, like, what is the difference? Like, I actually don't know BENNYMOON's like load difference relative to everyone else, but like, if like it would have to be a pretty bad, like a
Chroma
very
had
very
like
bad boulder for this to be a catch up. I think like
talk
a
about
bad boulder would put
loads.
them eat them.
Speaking
sorry,
of
what were you saying?
loads, Chroma had a half a second transition load going into this room. His loads have been atrocious in this run. I'd argue it's about a minute difference between the fastest loads in this race.
As per usual, though, the run comes down to the boulder. Happens
Yeah,
every
of
time.
course.
You kind of need like a 3-minute lead for that not to be the case.
And
I
I
mean,
don't think we're. Oh no, Chroma.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see any strat differences in the last two levels compared to what we'll see in the top level. So it's just going to be about execution after this.
oh no, Chroma Q missing the
Oh
button again.
no, that's so bad. I mean, at this point, this is a 2-horse race now. It kind of already was, but Appleman got stuck looking for a turret there at the end.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened there. Like he lost
Now,
on him.
hold your breath, because this is a dangerous room. 2 targets immediately showing themselves. Actually can't hit it. Does hit
He
it the
does get
second
that
time
one.
around, and these are very, very forgiving rotations.
He should be able to get it there. Yeah, on that
That
rotate.
double hit was so clutch.
Incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
You know, you can't fault the runner for getting lucky, but definitely, you know, that was unexpected, I would say.
Yeah, might be the end for Gamer Olive's chances here. And remember, Gamer Olive has to put up at least as good, probably even better boulder than that to even have a chance. So it's
Well,
just
P53, it's the end for Gamer Olive, just like it was in Pod Race and in Camino and
yeah,
in
I mean,
Princess and DSE and Carcoon.
well, the difference is, you know, how many levels were there left when we were in Camino, and how many levels were there left when we were in Falcon Flight.
That's true, but it's like Jared's been saying, you know, one level
Yeah.
makes the difference.
You would need a soft lock, or like an unbelievable CCT disaster. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the gap is that big. We'll have to see what happens on the boulder for Gamer Olive, because if Gamer
Yeah.
Olive gets a bad boulder, then it might be,
I mean,
really
did
dire.
any of these have like weird boom skips? Because that would be the only thing that would determine whether there's a soft lock here. So
I don't know. I actually didn't see. I mean, Gamer Olive missed it, right? So, I don't know if that was Olive that missed it.
oh. Oh,
That
that's a
hits.
lucky hit. That's a lucky
Wow.
hit from Gamer Olive.
And then is this the last target? There's one more, right? Oh,
Oh,
wow.
but
I
I bet
mean,
it
I
went
spoke
around.
way too soon.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is.
no.
Hey,
Okay.
that should be the last one.
I mean, it's not going to save time to BENNYMOON, but it's manageable. It's keeping
Yeah.
the run alive. The race is on its last legs here as we head into the last 3 levels. Jared, maybe you can talk about the gauntlet that these last 3 levels are.
Oh yeah, well, if you like entertaining finishes to a speedrun, then you definitely enjoy the last 3 levels here in this run. It's about as execution heavy as you can get. Dagobah, especially, the amount of 1P2C that you have in this level, the amount of execution that you have to do to successfully get through this level quickly. And then you just have, right after that, arguably the 2 hardest levels in the entire run in CCT and Bespin as BENNYMOON shows off. Oh, wow, that was such a
Wait.
bad death.
No, don't drop out R2. Oh,
No, he's
okay.
fine. He's fine on that side.
I thought R2 was falling in the water. Okay, well that's actually a good dropout then. That's not. Oh my gosh, what was that? Okay. Wow.
Okay.
What an insane backup. That is crazy.
I will give an update. It is about a 40-second difference between Gamer Olive and BENNYMOON. Loadless.
40 seconds, that can be made up in any level very easily if one thing goes wrong for BENNYMOON, and he's going to have to. I mean, think about it. That's probably a good 15 seconds that has been burned on this level already for him.
Yeah. Luckily, though, BENNYMOON did not get the dreaded, like the biggest mistake you can make in this level, which
That's
is
true.
failing the HUD skip there. Yeah, Benny needs to make sure not to bleed too much time here in order to secure his win. What is going on with Chroma Q's side there? I didn't get that last torpedo, so had to wait a little bit.
We'll have to see if Gamer Olive even goes for this trick. I can't necessarily tell you. Looks like they do not. Well, I'm not sure if that will really save anything to BENNYMOON in this room, just because the trick does itself save around 15 seconds, but it does decrease any chances of a major
Of a
disaster.
disaster, yeah. Which, honestly, if there's one thing I guess against BENNYMOON here is that by doing more of these risky strats, like he is opening himself up to the possibility of losing more time.
But I think that's so respectable that he's been going for these strats the entire
Yeah.
run, and even being a minute and a half in the lead, he never stopped going for them, and that is just
Yeah.
so entertaining to watch.
And
Yeah.
if you add up those strats too, that could potentially prove to be the difference. Because I mean, he's
Yeah.
gone for some big strats in this run, and
Yeah,
has
I
nailed
mean,
them too. Did not get the cutscene movement though.
Gamer Olive was successful with HUD skip, which is pretty much the checkbox you need to fill out for this level if you want to not completely throw the entire race away.
did we have a HUD skip miss last year in Lyre League? I don't remember.
I think we did.
We did.
it.
Okay. I think it happened like at the end or something. Like one of like
I think Flup missed it.
not sure, to be honest.
If
No,
they were
twice
even
I
in.
did. Twice
Ah,
I.
yeah, it was twice late. Okay.
You still won the race though. Giga Chad.
Yoda taking a death there on BENNYMOON's side. So I mean, BENNYMOON, he has, given a couple of opportunities here for Olive to make up some time. So I will be very interested to see what the gap is after this loadless.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if BENNYMOON has somehow managed to extend the gap just by virtue of going for DBS, which does just save,
Yeah.
a large chunk of time. It's obviously too early to say that anyone is out of it, but I would say definitely direct your attention towards Gamer Olive and BENNYMOON for the end of this race.
Take a look at BENNYMOON's golds in the last two levels. He has a 355 in Cloud City Trap and a 559 Bestman. So not great times, and definitely improvable. We'll see if the pressure of the tournament maybe gets to him. And then Gamer Olive, on the other hand, a little bit more of a respectable CCT goal at a 348 and then a 553 Bestman. So we'll see what happens. We head into the final straight of this opening matchup in Season 2 of the TCS Any Percent Ladder League. Again, this is match number 1. Oh no, what is happening here on APPLEMAN's? Okay, we're good. But this is match number 1 of the entire tournament. We'll have matches all throughout the week. All 26 of our participants in this year's tournament will be in action this week. You can let me go ahead and link the schedule sheet so that way we
You do exclamation point bracket, or
Is it
and then
actually?
find the schedule on there, or you could just
Okay.
link it in chat. But
exclamation point bracket, that's good enough.
37 matches this year, guys. 37.
APPLEMAN just did the pixel jump.
Yep.
That's a classic
impressive.
strat.
Yeah, well, he is playing one player, I guess.
No
the
HUD
end,
skip
maybe?
misses, guys. No HUD skip misses. You love to see it.
Yep.
All right. It's time to direct your attention toward the bottom right of the screen. Looks like BENNYMOON will be doing the panel fly strat and misses it once. Now, this is the type of strat where you really have to not get flustered because this can happen and it adds up. That looks
should be
good though.
Yep.
Step 1 complete of locking in a spot in this second round of play-ins. And it's going to be a many-step process here in CCT.
Should also be worth mentioning that Benny is doing all of this on double keyboard, which is very impressive. You don't see
I think he's on controller. I think his controller is just weird. That's what chat was saying. I'm assuming. I'm just trusting them on that. But yeah, his controller does move like weirdly.
Gets DVT.
Oh wait.
Oh no!
No,
but,
that's
You
actually
get
smart.
respawn,
But
right?
you'll still get the
Okay.
respawn. You'll still get the respawn. Yeah.
All right.
That was actually pretty smart.
What he doesn't
long
want to
as-
do is pop back and bounce here.
Oh, okay. Manages to catch the collision going downwards. That's very, very lucky. That can very easily not happen. It's a bit of an early fly, but gets the up warp, and so he's able to hit the transition. This is going about as well as he needs it to. I mean, the gap is less than 10 seconds at this point, so he's just going to need to hit this, and he misses it once. Now, Gamer Olive has gotten DV1 first try, I believe.
Well, no, Gamer Olive did miss a couple times.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So
But really, it'll come down to this BENNYMOON DV3 here.
It's gonna
Bleeding
miss
a
again.
lot of time here. And, I mean, this is the moment.
Gamer Olive pause buffering now without the lightsaber out. Gonna get a perfect force and
but
pops and
rushes
bounce.
it. You see the
And
nerves. Yeah.
that is a monumental disaster. Speaking of monumental disasters, how many attempts is this going to take for Benny? I mean, talk about nerves. This is exactly what happens when you get nervous in a race like this. He's been leading the entire time, and he gets what, like a 15th try DV3? I mean, talk about the door being wide open. Holy
But
cow.
unfortunately, Gamer Olive was not able to capitalize on that. Still trying to do the DVT super jump.
I think if
mean-
Gamer Olive can get this and then DV3, it's actually possible he will be ahead, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, he needs to nail DV3 right now, I think.
Okay, it's a good fly.
Oh, whoa,
Wow.
whoa.
Very, very close. Very, very close. It's going to come
Oh,
down to DV3.
Yeah.
Needs a first or second try here to be right back in it. First try misses. It's not good jump spacing.
Yeah. 51% of the predictors are riding on this DV3 right now.
It's a second try miss. And we see a third try. I don't know what the gap looks like. I do not know. But it's going to be close.
Does get that jump, and assuming he gets the panel jump here, I think it's doable in Bespin. We'll see.
We're not going to see any GTF, obviously, but the two of them, their golds are not very far apart. So we'll see what happens here.
I wouldn't speak so soon, Jared. We've seen some crazy straps from BENNYMOON this race. You never know.
I'm not drawing anything away from it. So the gap now between Benny and Gamer Olive is yet to be said yet, but Benny exited. Okay, here we go. We got to have a delta. It's 14 seconds.
In favor of Benny, I assume.
He's taking the lead. Gamer Olive has taken the lead, ladies and gentlemen,
No
going
way.
into Bespin.
Yes.
A
Yeah, Gamer Olive
2:37
by 15 seconds.
After
2:30.
a pod race meltdown, after so many disasters in so many different levels throughout this race, we see BENNYMOON leading by a minute and a half, then by 10 seconds, then by a minute and a half again. And now, in the final level, we see Gamer Olive, for the first time in the entire race, take the lead in the last level. I mean, you cannot write that.
Chroma just tried to go for fast DV1 to revive the race. I respect it from Chroma, but his day is most likely done. But yeah, Zach, I mean, we talked so much about BENNYMOON's aggressive mentality. It has been benefiting him for 90% of the race, but the other 10% have been so costly for him. We've seen probably 3 or 4 mistakes that have cost him multiple minutes potentially in this race, and this might end up costing him, but we're not done yet. We still have Bespin to go, still got a couple tricks left to go for sure. It's going to come down to the door clip here in best spin. Benny will be the first to get there, RTA.
And it really just, it's going to be crazy because we're not going to know who's won the race when Benny finishes. He will probably finish first, but we don't know if that means he's won.
Oh, he was so close.
It's a door clip miss for Benny. That should work.
No,
No, but he's moving Leia. He's using the Chewy door clip strat with Lando. I don't know if I like this play because that's going to give Gamer Olive so much time to get back into it. I mean, look at this.
Not the best Boba fight though from Gamer Olive, but yeah,
So
if
much time loss there on door clip though.
yeah. I mean, if Gamer Olive gets the door clip here, then it's gonna
then
be
it's all but over.
end platform. You never know, right?
Yeah, and
Even
platform
box clip.
definitely is volatile.
And platform and box clip.
Could this be the comeback of the tournament in the first match?
Resting on this trick right here, three civilians.
Three!
But
And
playing it
Oh
patiently.
my god!
How lucky is that after some
But
of
it's
the worst
not
RNG
over yet,
possible?
though. It's not over yet, though. Has to get himself in there, and he'll get the respawn here. If Gamer Olive plays this well to the end, we might see the biggest comeback I think we've ever seen in a race.
No aggro for
3
Gamer
minutes
Olive.
down. He was 3 minutes down exiting pod race. And now, 14 seconds ahead going into the final level. We're not going to know it until he enters the Falcon, whether or not it will be good enough to overthrow Benny and take this match. It's going to come down to box clip and the end platform.
Are mounting. Oh my goodness. Benny's gameplay is so shaky. Gamer Olive's gameplay is so shaky. They both know this is a win or go home match. 3 people on your screen will be gone in the next 2 minutes. It is all down to this.
Oh, and Gamer Olive kissed her hand. Oh my god.
No way. That is actually a time loss.
But a death on the box clip for BENNYMOON.
Here we go. First try box
Successful
clip from
box
Benny.
clip. Now, listen, I know a thing or two about this trick, and it is not easy. If you do not get this first try as Gamer Olive, you have to start worrying, is your lead enough to take it home on the loadless difference?
Zach, I don't think you should be talking if you predict a Gamer Olive, so it might not be the best move.
Chroma gets EV3. That might have been 30th try.
Yeah.
So here we go. The final trick.
Oh no, Appleman kissed.
Appleman kissing.
Okay. Don't go
First
too
try
far
as well.
Okay. No
we
box
go.
clip disaster from
I
Gamer
don't
Olive.
know. I don't know.
It's going to come down to the end platform.
Guys, pod race, 3 minutes. This is a massive comeback. In fact, I don't know if we saw a single comeback this big in the entirety of last year's Ladder League. And we are witnessing it in the very first match. This is a win or go home match. BENNYMOON has to play his heart out on this end platform. He accidentally switches to Chewy, who actually shoots faster but doesn't have access to a quick melee attack, and that might end up being what costs him.
Yeah, if you're BENNYMOON, you need to get the greatest end platform ever.
And I'll tell you right now, this is not the greatest end platform ever. If BENNYMOON had a chance of winning, I think it's disappearing slowly with this gameplay. Gamer Olive is going to need to walk onto the end platform, kill all the troopers, walk into the Falcon, and just cement the victory, even after being the favorite.
All right.
No one expected
Final time,
this.
2:44.15 for Benny. It is a PB for him, so congratulations to Benny. But
Gamer
is
takes
it
a dip
enough?
on the bridge. I don't know if that's
Is it going to be enough? Gamer Olive needs to close it out
Double
here.
death there. Oh no.
It is going to be
Another
so
death.
close.
I mean, this is not much better than Benny's. It may be worse. Another death.
The
I mean,
troopers
this is
are just
shaky
so
gameplay.
close to Lando. Yeah.
This is tough RNG that Gamer Olive is dealing with another death. I mean, this would be a monumental throw. I have to say it. I don't know what is about to happen here. We're gonna find out
That's the
in just
last
a few
trooper right
One
seconds.
there.
trooper
Last
left.
trooper doesn't hit it. I don't know who took this home.
Final
yeah.
time for Gamer Olive, a
Oh my
2:44.02. It's just barely enough to squeak past Benny and complete the comeback. Gamer Olive has advanced to the play-in finals to take on Yehoodles and Nolan.
A
Wow.
3-minute time loss in pod race. So many disasters. We saw a spaceport meltdown from everyone. We saw a princess meltdown from everyone. Missed disco from every runner except for BENNYMOON, pulling out some of the craziest strats we've ever seen. PBing and losing. I mean, that is a heartbreaking ending for the majority time leader of the entire race.
But it just goes to show you just the magic of the ladder league. It's not over until you get into the Falcon on 5-6. It came down to the final level, and Gamer Olive completes the comeback and moves on to the play-in finals as APPLEMAN on the M platform. It was a valiant effort from the Australian. We saw some crazy one-player strats from him, but unfortunately coming up empty here in this one. He finishes with a final time of 2. Wait until he gets into the Falcon.
Oh no, I don't know what's going on here. I think he's going for the kiss right at the very end.
Classic hand kiss.
Yeah.
So APPLEMAN into the Falcon with a final time of 2:46.43. Comes in third place here in this race as Chroma struggling here with Doorclip. It was a valiant effort from him as well. He was challenging Benny in second for a lot of this race, but really kind of just got away from him in episodes 3 and 5. He also had a chance to PB at one point in this race, but that has since slipped away.
I mean, actually, have all runners been ahead at one point in this race? I actually don't know with Chroma Q.
I don't think APPLEMAN has ever
APPLEMAN.
been in the lead, but
Yeah.
I mean, this shows you like the unscripted entertainment of a race of a game that's 2.5 hours long to 3 hours long. You're bound to get stuff like this, but who could have written a script like that? It
Yeah.
looked like BENNYMOON was so commanding for the entire tournament, for the entire race. Sorry, it looked like he was in such a strong lead that him going for
Oh no, Chroma Q.
well, 3 people did it.
Yeah.
It looked like him going for these aggressive strats was a flex, was a luxury strat. But no, it wasn't even enough to take home the victory.
I mean, Zach, since you wrote the script for this, you should know anything what the outcome of this race would have been, you know.
That's right. And what I think what's so crazy is that it all happened in DB3. I mean, we talk
Yeah.
about all these new tricks like 12 button skip, like God Fraud, like
Yeah.
all the new tricks that get added, like GTF. We always say, well, this one's got to be the hardest one in the game. How about the trick that has been the toughest trick to nail, a 3-frame window for years and years in this game, and it's still there, and you
He's been killing
still
runs
have
since
to hit it.
2019.
I mean, also Zach, just think about all the different places where this run could have just gone the other way. Just think about all the many minute time losses from either Gamer Olive or BENNYMOON throughout this race. Like this could have easily gone either way at like the flip of a coin.
I mean, just unbelievable, and you can only imagine the emotions for Gamer Olive, who knows if they were keeping up with all the other racers, but even if they weren't, imagine checking the run.gg and seeing that you won by 13 seconds. I mean, that is a nail biter and a half.
Especially after that end platform.
Yeah. I mean, what did I say? You know, there had to be a CCT disaster, and I guess that is what happened.
And it's so crazy. I mean, you heard me earlier in this match saying, well, you have to start thinking who is going to be the one to challenge BENNYMOON because there's no way Gamer Olive can do it. But that shows you consistency is so important. I mean, this would have been a PB with the first try pod fraud. That is the level of gameplay that you need to put up if you are going to take yourself out of these playing matches and get yourself into the ladder.
I mean, for PB purposes, also all these runners are losing time to saves also because they have
That's
to
right.
save for this race. So, yeah.
Now, I
Very
think
impressive stuff.
right as we end the match, right once Chroma's done, we'll see if Gamer Olive is available to be pulled in for an interview here. If not, that's
Yeah.
totally okay. I'm sure the dopamine, the adrenaline is going crazy right now for him.
So
So
what time is it in Australia? Actually, I think that's the bigger
it's
factor.
like 4 p.m. or something
Okay,
like
so
that.
okay.
But we'll wait to drag him in just until Chroma has finishing up our first match of Ladder League. Jared, what a race!
That couldn't. I don't think that can get any better than that. Well, I think I'd like to challenge that and actually say we will get some matchups better than that because we have the best players in the entire world that are going to be competing here in this tournament. All 26 runners will be competing this week in Ladder League play. The final play-in match has yet to been scheduled yet, obviously, because the winner of this match has not yet been determined. But once we get a 21st seed, we will be able to schedule all of our matches. And as we're finally able to get Chroma Q into the Falcon with a final time of 2:48.56. Congratulations to Chroma, a valiant effort, but unfortunately came up empty here in this race. But what a storybook finish in the very first race of this tournament.
Yeah, and I think if Gamer Olive is here, we can move to get them in for an interview. I guess it
Oh, I
depends on
think
them.
it might mess up the layout, so we may have to switch to
No,
the
no,
results
no,
screen.
no, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, well, either way, we are going to switch to the results screen here. And these are the upcoming matches. Jared, maybe just quickly go over these real quick.
And these will be the first matches of week number 1 that we currently have scheduled. Obviously, the second plan will play in beforehand. But for week 1 action, will kick off on Tuesday the 20th between Dragon, Laser, and Daime. That is rung number 3. Followed immediately after by Twilight, Phantom, and T-Fresh. That'll be a double header right here on twitch.tv/LEGO Speedruns. And then rung number 6 will take place on the 24th, which I believe is Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And then rung number 1, which is not on the screen, will be Sunday in prime time at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be rung 1 between myself, Frostbite, and We Super.
And we have Gamer Olive here for an interview whenever you want to unmute. I will let Jared take this one away, but I first want to say congratulations, GG, and thank you for an amazing race.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so let's go through this run here together, Gamer Olive. First of all, what are you thinking after pod race? Because obviously, a missed pod
I
fry,
was so nervous.
multiple minutes.
Mm.
Did you think it was over?
I didn't think it was over. I just knew, like, I had to have a good mental from there, I'd say. My nerves definitely spiked there, though.
I mean, I gotta give credit where credit is due. That's exactly what you did. We'll take you through the race a little bit. So Benny built a big lead after episode 1, and then kind of slowly started to bleed a little bit of time in episode 2, but didn't really start losing, like crashing and burning until the last episode 4. He lost a minute on Spaceport to, I believe it was player 3 glitch. He didn't end up going for it, and so he had to do the backup spy fight skip. And then on Ripmore, he missed Ripmore probably about 5 times. And so at one point, it was about a 15-second difference between Chroma and Benny.
What?
And then
That's crazy.
Benny eventually got his lead out to 1 minute and 30 seconds as we got into episode 5. And then DV3 happened. And Zach...
So, was he ahead of me into episode 5?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Very
And
ahead.
one of the most crazy
Yeah.
parts of that DV3 was that it was not like a 5th try DV3. He missed it for, I would say, a good 45 seconds. And that was the lead switched hands at the last possible moment going into the final level. And that was your first time taking the lead in the entire race.
In that CCT, I did not think it would be that close. I was not really that nervous.
Well, that's the benefit of not looking at the splits. I will definitely say that.
That's exactly why I did not I didn't even look at the stream at all. Not even after the pod race incident. Just focusing on my own game, getting my time the best it can be.
Yeah, you would have PB'd if it wasn't for pod race. So for a race, that's very impressive.
And that's the type of gameplay that you can only get from someone who is top 70 in Oceania and the Pyraminx average. Sorry, I just had to. Anyway,
Thanks.
Anyway, yeah, that was just an incredible race to watch and to commentate. I'm so glad we got the opportunity to do it. I think we're gonna go ahead and hand it over to Hav to take us away. But what a way to spend my Friday night! I gotta say, absolutely thrilling.
Yeah,
watch
congratulations,
the
Gamer
stream.
Olive. You are moving on to the play-in finals. Your tournament isn't over quite yet. You got a tough task ahead of you, but congratulations on the match win. It was a treat to watch. Thanks everyone for watching. That was awesome. I think we peaked at almost 150 viewers, which is pretty awesome for match.
That is right. 150 viewers. Also, thanks, of course, Super for bringing in some extras. But yeah, incredible performance, Gamer Olive. I know all the Benny heads in chat must have been distraught, but genuinely
I gotta
great
say,
comeback.
BENNYMOON improvement has been insane. Like, holy hell! I did not expect it to be that close. I gotta say, BENNYMOON, like, his improvement has been insane. I'm pretty sure he's improved by 5 minutes in the past, like, 2 days or something. It's just been insane how much he's clutched up to qualify and almost, like, take my spot in Ladder League. That is just incredible. So I gotta give my shout-outs to BENNYMOON.
100%.
Incredible.
It's been really nice seeing how much work all these people have put in getting their times in so they can compete in this very prestigious event, of course. But yeah, I just want to add on to these 3 rungs. Now we have Gamer Olive going up in play-in number 2. That's going to happen actually probably tomorrow. I mean, obviously up to you to schedule it sometime this weekend. But we will have a match before week 1, rung 3, for sure. It's going to be another play-in, another winner stays on, losers get kicked out. So definitely hop on for that. Hopefully we'll have a equally fun, exciting match at the end there. But yeah, I think that is it. What an incredible start to Ladder League. And I think we will see you all pretty soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.